All right, checking my system here. Looks like you guys can hear me. Looks like I can see all of the chats. Should be good. All right, we're doing a little co-working today. And we're working through some Linux stuff while we're doing that. Mainly, we're continuing on with a theme that seems like most of you seem to like. It's called the Socratic Method. We're just going to ask ourselves questions as we, kind of look around a Linux system and say, can I do these things? Do I understand them? And I've been adding more and more to these as we go. So we will. I think I'm up to 119 total slides. We're on slide 28 from the other day, and we'll just walk through it and figure out where we go. If anybody wants to hang out and do this while I'm kind of working, I'm working on another screen on my stuff. But since I'm back home in Phoenix, I was in Dayton for a whole week. We can go over these things. So, first question says, can you show all the interfaces into your system? Do you understand how to show all the interfaces that are going on in your system? So, how do we do that? Well, you got a system over here. Got a few different windows that we can look at here. Let me get out of there. We don't need to be in there. And yeah, can we show all the interfaces on our system? Well, that should be pretty easy. If config should work. We can also do IP adder. Those are two favorites for people. But let me show you some other ones that I kind of like. You can also go with IP-BR ADDR. That's one of my favorites. It's nice and short. And on some of the newer Red Hat type boxes, you can get away with this one, NMCLI con show, and that one will show you the connections that are there on the system. You can also do a device show, I believe, and this will give you a little more information, but it really depends like what you want to see about a system. So those are the main things that I would kind of think about on a system here. I would do maybe an if config. If config's a little verbose and it's not on all the newer systems that are out there. So if config's kind of an older way of doing it. IP adder is kind of a newer, more, I'd say, modern way of doing it. On systems that have 10 plus interfaces, this one can get really, really full on your screen with a bunch of stuff that's just kind of noise. So I like the IP-BR ADDR. Getting weird phone calls right now. We'll go ahead and ignore those. And then NMCLI show and NMDev show are also kind of newer ways of looking at the interfaces. I like the NMCLI show because it'll show you the UUID and you can go find the connection and where it's at. You've got Ethernet typically on systems. Sometimes you'll have InfiniBand nodes or InfiniBand connections in. So those will be IB type or InfiniBand type. And I guess you can have fiber channel as well. And those may be different type interfaces there. You'll also see more information down here. And that'll show up. Okay, so that was can you show all the interfaces that your system sees? This can be important for, you have a node that's having some kind of connection problem and you were able to maybe SSH into it, or maybe you got in through a console and then the next thing you know, it's not showing all the interfaces. Something's different. How's it going, Chris? Yeah, we're over on YouTube side. We're not working too hard today. I'm just kind of I'm kind of getting off of or rather I'm doing a little co-working here, kind of showing you guys this while I'm working in another window. That's also why I'm not on stream, because I'm just kind of doing other stuff. And Sladoid, you got off of work? Nice. I got home this weekend, man. I was in Dayton, Ohio, and I was stuck in airports and on airplanes for 30 something hours trying to get home. I felt like the mother in Home Alone, if you remember her trying to get home from Paris. That's what it was like. So, yeah, tomorrow I made it back. Yep. Oh, it was brutal. I told the wife I will never fly. I will probably never fly Delta again. I mean, that's just probably in the way that they alerted me on stuff when it was already like a moot point. Like, I was already there and I was already in the chute and I was already screwed. Like, that's CHUTE. I was screwed, man. Like, and then I couldn't. Yeah, it was bad. So I'll probably never do anything with Delta ever again. 1 and 2, I will probably never fly anywhere like that where there's a connection. because it's just, they give you 45 minutes to connect, and then they're an hour and a half late, and the other flight's gone, and now you're just stuck in the airport till the morning. And it's like, there's no, and you're like, we'll just go, like they even told me on the flight out date, and they're like, we'll just go home and come back to the airport. And I'm like, it's a 6 a.m. flight. I'm gonna go, or not go home, like go to the hotel and then go back to the airport. And I'm like, well, go sleep in a hotel for 2.5 hours? That's fucking stupid, you know? So I'm not doing that. Your penguin has a smoking keyboard. X-Shiny, his arms are actually supposed to be smoking from working so hard. But we're not working too hard, we're trying not to work too hard today. All right. Now this one's fun. So we showed all the interface to the system. Can we show that the interface is connected physically? So this is the system. Oh, we don't have a vert. What? If we grep Zen from, let's see, where would we go? DMID. Is it vert? No. We're definitely on a virtualized system. I know that because I built it, but also we can tell you, yeah, just do planes, trains, and automobiles. Yeah. So DMID code shows that we're a virtual system, but we don't have a physical connection. But how can we tell that the system sees the connection is up? You know, back in the day, we would go to the back of the server and we would see that the connection was in, and it would either be off or it would be blinking yellow or it would be green. That was like a physical cable plugged in, and that was super easy to see. I was even in a data center all last week. That's what I was doing in Ohio, was I was working in the data center, and it's like everything's up. You can go physically see it, but we can't do that in a virtual machine. So if we get to the virtual machine like we're at, how do we see, you know, nm CLI con show, how do we see that this Ethernet device is being seen as connected by the system? Well, there's a tool called ETH tool. And when you do that, it'll give you information, and in this case, it'll say the link is detected, yes. Now, since we're not dealing with physical machines anymore, we can also go, if we have a Zen or an XCPNG. I'm going to go to my XCPNG center to show you guys. Oh, the music's loud again. Hold on. Oh, that's way loud. How about that? That's about half of what it was. So, we see this. What if we pulled up our little XCPNG center and reconnect all our machines? Because I've been gone, so I'm not connected to anything. But we go to this machine, Rocky 5 here, and we can see on the networking that it thinks it's active. So typically we can see that we think the system is connected. This would be the closest thing in our lives to being in the data center looking at the back of the device. This would be the closest thing. There's no physical server anymore, right? We're not at we're maybe even working remote nowadays, right? Some of us work across country. I'm working out of Ohio, but I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, right? And this is the closest I'll ever have to seeing that device is up. Yes. And then we come to the system, and the system sees that it's up as well. Now, if those two things are both up, it's like the connection is there. Now we got to figure out if something else, if communication still isn't happening, we've got to figure out what else is happening. Okay, like if connection's still busted after that, it's probably a configuration, if that makes sense, right? I mean, we could build another virtual interface and plug it in and try to connect and that kind of stuff, but for the most part, it's probably going to be down in the config file somewhere at that point, right? So we can see, yes, that the systems connect physically. So we saw that we could see all the interfaces. Now we can see that the interfaces are connected. And then this next question says, can you determine your default route? Do you guys know how to configure or check your default route on a system? There's a few different commands, but does anybody know what you would be doing on that? This is, again, we do the Socratic type method of learning to think through things that we maybe either know or think we know, or this can hopefully find some gaps in your game. You know, maybe we're already, yeah, I think tomorrow's got it. So IP route is good. Route-N is good. Route by itself is okay, right? And it'll tell us IP route to Linux package, nice. Yeah, Sladoid. I go through these every now and then, and both the PowerPoint and the notes that I have for this are up on the Discord if anybody needs them. So I like to make sure you guys know that, you know, you are welcome to go hang out in there. And I tell you guys all the time, even if you go in there and just grab everything like a cartoon villain and run away, I'm fine with it. I'd rather you guys get this experience and figure it out because some of us do this stuff for a long time and we don't have to do all of these different things. We don't, you know, we don't see all these different things. And then One Sigma Trader, thanks for the follow. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We are, yeah, again, just we're asking ourselves questions and then we're looking at the system to make sure that we understand things. Because I tell you guys, when we're troubleshooting late at night, you know, the call comes out for you to get in and you know, you're a new admin on the system and you've never been on the system before. You have to very quickly kind of snap through and ask yourself questions and validate what's happening and validate. It's like called testing your assumptions, or some people say trust but verify. Like I assume that things are working on the system, but I don't know, therefore I will figure it out, right? A couple things here. I can start to ask, well, maybe the traffic is not flowing correctly here, and what I might do is I might look at my device. So my default route is here. This is the default way things are going to go out. So I might do something like dig, you know, google.com and say, okay, Google wants to go to 142.250.69, but I've got these two paths out of my system. If you're in a 192.168.200 matched to those first 3 octets, you go out ETH0. Okay. Well, 142.250.69 does not match in those first 3 octets. So this is not the path that my system is going to use. This is not the route that the kernel will use to send that traffic out. However, since it finds nothing, the default becomes the one that's going to be used. And you're going to say, Scott, it used the same interface. Yes, it did. It did eventually go to the same interface, but walking through all the logic, it did not get there by going through this first one, if that kind of makes sense, right? So let me show you guys on a system that'll make it a little more pronounced. In my home lab, IP route looks like this. And if I wanted to ping Google from here, dig www.google.com, I want to go to, for Google this time, we got a 192.178. Well, that's fun. Does my 192.168 matched at the first 3 octets? So does this match perfectly this? No, the answer is no. Does this match perfectly this? The answer is no. So these are not being used. 172.17, it's silly, it does not match. 169.254 simply does not match, it's silliness. But up here, the default, how I want to get out is through ETH0, because I did not have anything to catch it. Hey, Lezerbisca, how's it going? Thanks for the subscription. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Yeah, I crashed my bike. I always check which services. We are going to get into the services here in a second. But we were doing the default route. This thing flips every 3 minutes, so I'm not always paying attention, and it had moved forward to, can you ping your default gateway? Well, here's my default gateway on this box. Yeah, I can ping it 3 times. Let's go back over here. My default gateway here is this one. So let's go to that. Let's ping-C3 192.168.200.1. Can I ping it exactly 3 times? Boom. So there was, you had to know how to ping, which is, most people can just type the command ping and something. But you need to know the behavior that in Windows, it's going to be 4 times. In Cisco, it's going to be 5 times. And in Linux, it's going to be until the end of time if you don't add a flag or what we call an argument to make it behave differently. So in this case, we chose 3 count. So it only did 3 pings. But if I left that empty, it would ping forever. And on a Windows machine, if we care, it would ping 4 times. And on a Cisco device, if we care, it would ping 5 times. Those are the defaults. And we need to know how to change the behavior of our defaults. The question here was, could we ping the default gateway 3 times? And the answer was yes, we could. We knew how to do it. And why would that help us? Because if I had gotten into this through a different route, like let's say I had jumped in here and got console to this box, and I could not connect to it any other way, one of my first checks out of this box here, this Rocky 5, would be, can I ping my default gateway? It's almost always one of the things I check. It's a thing you want to be able to, and I'm snapping like think quickly as you're up on a call late at night trying to fix a set of servers or something. Something's gone wrong and they've called you. All right, Doomslayer said, hello sir, just getting into cybersecurity, looking about proxy chains. Would you by chance know where I can find proxy servers and choose how I do anything to protect myself from the proxy? Demon Slayer, I run two types of proxies in my world. I run forward and reverse proxies, but I don't know about proxy chains. I'm not sure exactly what that is, or the cybersecurity reference to that, so I might not be able to help you with that. I can show you all day how to set up a forward or a reverse proxy. Those things are pretty straightforward, and they're built right into Linux, in general. Yeah, well, I mean, so proxying in general, there's nothing to protect from. Like a forward proxy just means on behalf of. You go a forward, not forward, a forward. You go forward to something and it does something on behalf of you. That's a forward proxy. And then a reverse proxy is typically what we call a load balancer, and it does things on behalf of the nodes behind it, right? So these are the kind of things that we kind of learn about. All right, so this one says, can you determine the maximum transmission unit of the network with ping? So we can see right here as we ping a box, we see, or as we ping somewhere, it says we pinged it and we got responses back. We're using ICMP echo requests and we're getting ICMP echo replies back from that box. But I do not see here the maximum transmission unit of the network. I may be able to do an IP adder and see for Ethernet 0 the maximum transmission unit of 1500, but it said, can you determine the MTU of the network with ping? So that means we might have to be kind of sneaky here. We might have to do, there's a command right here that I'll show you, but we can ping -C1, so we're going to try one ping, and we're going to say, go ahead and ping at 1500. That's the maximum transmission unit of the network, right? And then we're going to say, for the permutation bit, meaning can we take, as we go from layer 2 down to layer 3, can we fragment to get it down into a frame? And I say, do set the no permutation bit. It's super weird, I know, that's what it means. And then we're going to ping www.yahoo.com, and it's going to say, you can't do that, buddy, because you're trying to send something longer than the maximum transmission unit of 1500. So I say, okay, let's go ahead and say 1480. I think 1480 will work. Let's see. And that's too long. Oh no. So now we go down a little bit to like 70. Let's go down to 70. And 70 made it because it was able to fit down into the lower frame at layer 2 of the OSI model, right? As it went down into Ethernet 2 frames. And that was able to fit, and it was able to go ping over there and come back. By the way, you'll notice sometimes when I ping and do weird stuff like this, I always use Yahoo instead of Google. You're like, hey, Scott, you always do Google, but then when it comes to this, you go to Yahoo. Here's the problem. If you do any kind of weird ping into Google, it will not respond to you. Google's like, oh, hell no, I ain't playing with that game with you guys, and it won't. So, something to think about. But look, this is kind of fun. So I've told you guys one of the things that I've done before is we'll do something like this. We'll take this, and we'll go like this. So we'll go... We'll start this off with like a $sign, I don't know, we'll just call it like num, right? And then we'll come over here and we'll say do, and then we'll come over here and we'll say for, I don't know, so for num in, and then we'll sequence of, I don't know, we'll start at 1400, let's say, and we'll go every 10 to 1600, right? Oops. And then, yeah, that'll be do ping. So now this will ping each of those sizes. We might have to set a wait, dash capital W of 1, so it'll only do a timeout of 1 second, I think. Yeah, that's right. And what'll happen here, that happened very quickly, but we'll go look at, we'll go do a little forensics on it. Go all the way up to 16. Yeah, it'll go to 1600 and it'll stop. All right, so what happened here? Let's go through it real quick. We looped. We did a little for loop. We said for number in sequence 1400 to 1600. Do a ping over there, and we'll only wait for 1 second. We'll always do just one ping. And we walked through for each one, and we went up from 1400 to 1600 by 10 at a time to see if we could ping over there. So we pinged the first time, and it fit down into the frame. We pinged all the way down, but then when we got to right here, when we got to how big was this? I should have set up. Let's redo this real quick. We'll do this. Echo. I am pinging at this size. Right, and now we'll ping, and it'll say. I should have stopped it at like 1500, huh? That doesn't really make any sense what I'm doing here. Don't worry about this. Gizmo, how's it going? And yeah, so we got 1400, got through all the way till we got to 1470. Whoops, 1470 pinged fine, right? But then at 1480, the message was too long. And what we're doing when you think about maximum transmission units and setting what we call the do not fragment bit, we're not being super sneaky. We're just doing simple networking stuff. And we're telling at layer 3, going down into layer 2, to fit it into a frame, you are not allowed to cut this packet that we have into fit in 2 frames. You are not allowed to do it. And the system will go, well, I can't do it, so I'll just give an error message back. So the question was, can we determine the maximum transmission unit of the network with ping? Yes, the maximum transmission unit is 1500, but we can't ping over, I think it's 1476. 1476, I think, is the highest we can go. Nope. Maybe it's 1474. Nope. Maybe it's 1472. 1472 got through, 1474 did not. So it was somewhere in there, right? But the maximum transmission unit of the system, and you say, well, what does that mean? That means that the frame header has to be able to fit, the header and the footer have to also be able to fit around that packet that you dropped in there, right? The payload and the header footer cannot exceed 1500 maximum transmission unit. That's what that means. So the question was, can we determine the maximum transmission unit of the network with ping? Yeah, we just got to chop ping up a little bit and make it work a certain way. Let me show you guys. So you say, well, Scott, well, how did you learn how to do this, or why is this important? Well, because sometimes you don't have, even though you're working inside of a company, does not mean you have control of all things. So what do I mean by that? You say, Scott, what do you mean? Sometimes when you're working, you don't have control of the network. You're building out the big Linux systems and their back-end storage, and then there's a few networks in between, and you've been assured by the system. See, a 1500 maximum transmission unit is the standard. This is the common standard for Ethernet 2 frames. But there's a thing called a jumbo frame, and a jumbo frame can go up to 9,000. And you say, what's the difference? Well, 9,000 is much more efficient for storage traffic, because I have much bigger rail cars that I can fit this coal into. Let's just say coal being your big data for storage. So it's more efficient, and sometimes you have multiple hops, and your your networking team will assure you that the maximum transmission unit is set 1500 the whole way. And then you go and you do a ping like this, a ping sweep, and you find that it does not actually show after we get past 1500, something is blocking the system from pinging. And you can do that by setting the do not fragment bit, and that's why this is important to know. You might say, why is this important to know? I've never run into that in my 20 years. Yeah, you might not ever. I've run into it a few times, and I show it to people because I think it's basic networking, and all of our systems interact with networking, but it just kind of depends. Your career is going to take you different places. Some of you will never touch storage like this. Some of you will, and then you'll be like, oh shoot, I'm glad I picked up that one little trick that one time. Anyways, it's in the notes over here if you need it. All right, so the next question, can you properly identify all your IPv4 and IPv6 interfaces? Yeah, so we did IP adder earlier, or if config, and I would ask this, which of these are set up as just IPv4, and which of these are set up as just IPv6? Or are they both one or both the other? And how can you tell? Drink some water while you guys think about that. Again, this is the the Socratic method of how we do anything. We can just sit around and ask ourselves questions, and verify within a system that things are like we think. We come to the system, we expect it to have IPv6 because it's running an IPv6 service. And could you definitively tell me from that output that we are running IPv6? And how do we know? You've got two different output up there, and they both tell me the same thing, and I want to make sure that they're telling you that same thing, if that makes sense. Not trying to trick anybody here, not trying to act like I'm smarter than everybody. I tell you guys all the time, you don't have to be the smartest engineer in the room. You just have to know how to build things, right? Being the smartest engineer in the room is very irrelevant. We don't have to line up by height or intelligence. We have to line up by how much we build shit. And in this case, fix stuff, right? So can you properly identify all of your IPv4 and IPv6? So on this one here, on this output, that's an IPv4 address. It's in dotted decimal. We see that. It's masked as IPv4, so that's an IPv4 address. Funny enough, that's our IPv6 address, so ETH0 is definitely running both IPv4 and IPv6 interfaces. Now, our loopback is home. You always have 127.0.0.1 as home for your IPv4 networks, but IPv6 is always shown as home like this. So this is also a dual-honed network, as we sometimes call them, right? So we've got IPv4, IPv6. So both of these interfaces on this device are set for both IPv4 and IPv6. That's cool. That works pretty well. If we were to add, let me pull up, where's my, I got it here somewhere. Let me pull up my K3. I think I have it. Let me see if I have the command here. Find this command that I put in here somewhere. Alright, shoot, gotta go find it. Alright, do it like this. Where's that? Here's our command. We're just gonna quickly install this real quick. So this is installing K3s on our system, right? And I'm installing this. Nobody else has to do this. I just want to show you guys. This is going to set up a few other interfaces on our box, right? So when we run this and install it, by the way, this is lab, I don't know, 9. Is it lab 9 of our course? If you guys want to go do our Linux Systems Administration course. What lab? What lab was this? I don't know what week it was. I'm looking at it inverted. This is inverted color, so it's not bright. But IPv4 and IPv6. I want to show you guys. So we just had a ETH0 on this box, and we had a loopback. But when we install Kubernetes service on here, we're going to get Podman and some other things, and I think Container D. We'll see here in a second. For sure, we'll have Rancher. But when this gets done running, let's go look at what we actually have. And see if there's more networks, and are they IPv4 or IPv6, because there's going to be some internal networks that are installed and added on our system here from this. So let's let this run real quick. While I'm doing that, did everybody have a good weekend? Did anybody spend more time in a airport or a plane than I did this weekend? I doubt that's possible. I spent 30 hours this weekend getting home from Ohio, so that's fun. I got that going for me. All right, let's see what our interfaces look like now. They're going to be significantly added to. Spent the weekend on the road, going to Austin tomorrow. Okay. Austin's not terrible. I've been to Austin a few times. I think I was in Austin just a few months ago, I think, for a project. What the heck was I doing? Oh, I was like, what am I doing out there? Because our systems are in Hawaii and they're out in Ohio, so those are two systems. But this was like a build thing. Dell has like a build contractor that they use out there. So it's like a mock data center, where everything gets stood up and built out, and I was down there building stuff out. Oh, when was that? October, November? I think it might have been November I was out there. So yeah, I was in the Austin area. I couldn't believe some of the ways you're going to start going there to look for jobs. Nice. Get more hits there in Dallas. Okay, fair enough. Tomorrow. Yep, fair enough. I got hit up. I'll tell you guys something funny. And a lot of times, guys, when I get job offers and stuff, I try to kick them down into our Discord. Like, we've got a little Discord section. And I got offered one. Let me pull this up real quick for you guys. I got offered one. I didn't put this one in the Discord though, so this one won't be as useful. But where's that? Hold on. A lot of times I'll drop stuff up here in our. Where's our little job? Jobs and interview. I'll try to put stuff in here. When I come up with, or when I find something. But anyways, that's my brother John right here that posted this. The one that I got offered though was a company, Caris Life Sciences, that I worked with about 10 years ago. One of their recruiters messaged me and said, "Hey, would you come, curing cancer and moving to the cloud?" And I'm like, I actually worked with them. And I also wanted to kind of correct her, and I wanted to say, like, Caris doesn't technically try to cure cancer. That's not actually what the company does. That's not what the company researches. But it does do some pretty cool stuff, and it's CARIS. So if anybody's looking for they've got a good HPC role that's out there right now. Starts at 170K, so that's not bad for engineering stuff. That's not too bad. And okay, so anyways, so where am I at here? Let's look at the system. IP adder. Oh, look at that. So earlier, just a few minutes ago, we just had these two. But now we've got flannel. What the heck's a flannel? Well, whatever else I know about flannel, I know it's IPv4 and it's IPv6 interface. Then CNI. What the heck's a CNI? Well, it's got an IPv4 and an IPv6 interface. And then there's these virtual, probably Ethernet. And this one has only INET 6. And then this one also only has virtual INET 6. So these two do not have IPv4 interfaces to them. They are simply IPv6 interfaces. As is this one. As is this one. As is this one. So these are there's 5 IPv6 only interfaces that were added to this machine. No, you think my music's too loud? I can barely even hear my music. Oh! Guys, I apologize. Hold on. I apologize, guys. Is that better? Oh my gosh. Hold on. Is that better, guys? I just realized something about my music. You guys were getting it directly. Oh man, I'm sorry, guys. You guys were getting it directly from my desktop audio thing. Ooh. Is it better? It's real low for me. Well, shoot, maybe I can turn it up for me then. Hold on. I realized what was being said there. Because somebody said that at the very beginning, and I said, oh, no, I turned it down. And they said, I guess people thought it was better. But I have an audio mixer on this that I didn't realize was sending so much sound to you guys, and I just turned it down to about a quarter. Is that much better? I apologize, guys. I was just kind of going. I'm using OBS now. I think I'm done with Streamlabs. Streamlabs has frozen up and just jacked off enough times that I'm not dealing with them anymore. Oh, I like that it says jacked off, but it doesn't say other swear words that I use. That's going to be what I start saying now. But anyways, yeah, like Streamlabs would just crash at 3 hours. You're like, why are you crashing? Saber said, hello, any wisdom please about AI replacing new dev juniors and fresh grads? I don't think AI is going to replace the people who do troubleshooting. I really don't. I don't think it can look up. Like, we could pull up, even right now, we could pull up an AI like Gemini or something. We could ask it questions about like fixing our systems. But I'll tell you right now, I don't think 1 in 10 times I would just go take what it said and directly do it on a system without having somebody look at it first, you know? And then, like, if you talk to the guys that work in the cloud space a lot, they'll use the AI type stuff to generate cloud type, Terraform or cloud formation templates and stuff, and it'll be close, but it won't be close enough to just use. So like a lot of people are using AI to be like a little gopher, kind of like being a junior engineer. But Saber, I don't think it's replacing junior devs and fresh grads anytime soon. We got to keep training people. We got to keep getting people up in the system. All right, so but real quick at this, do you guys see how much, like, we just had this one interface, and when we add Kubernetes, now we got all these other ones, and now we've got all this other stuff that we might have to watch. This IPR now has, oh, it only has those, but now if I want to go talk to the 1042 network, I'm going to use this CNI interface here, right? That's going to send traffic in to any of these networks. So, yeah, Saber, I would never tell anybody to stop trying to get into, I would never tell anybody to stop trying to get into this space, because I think for Linux systems and Linux monitoring and just building systems, we still need people doing it. I really do think that. So, yeah, I think you're gonna keep finding that this stuff is valuable. All right, let's keep going on our networking. So the next one is, can you list your open ports? So we've found all this stuff. We've done all this stuff to our box, and let's say, can we list all the open ports on the system? So we're on a server. This server is using TCP/IP to communicate to the world. It's using IPv4 or IPv6, depending on what we're trying to do, right? We know that. But all the ways that it can be connected to, almost like all the ports, if it were an island, are either TCP or UDP between 0 and 65,535. Now, there's certain ones that we can't use in there, but those are the ports right there. Those are all the ports you have to defend in a system. At the current place, there's no, they connected to port 128,000 because we didn't realize it existed. Nope, doesn't exist. You don't even have a field for it in the TCP or UDP header that you can put on a system. So it's not even a thing to think about. There's no hacker man going, oh, I'm going to overload that. Nope, that's just not how it works, guys. It's 0 to 65,535. That's what it is, TCP or UDP. Those are the only ones you got to defend against. So how do we tell what our system actually has open? Well, some of our systems have netstat on them still. I like NTULP. And here's all what our system's listening for right here. Now, I also like, as a more modern way of doing this, SS-NTULP. Yep, SS is great as well. And here's the local address port that we're listening on. Our system's listening on right here. But there's some wildcards here that are important to understand. And I'm going to explain them to you. These ones right here are only listening from my local machine. So if you said, hey, Scott, you just installed Kubernetes on your system, did you just open vulnerabilities on that Kubernetes systems out to the world? Technically, kind of, yes. But as far as the API goes, the API is 644. That is only listening from the local machine. That's a local 127.0.0.1. It's our home machine. So this is not listening to other stuff. Now, if we started exposing services and opening things through Kubernetes, yes, we would be adding vulnerabilities to this server. But by default, it's only listening here. Now, there are some wildcards. In this case, this means anything. This means anything. So that is dangerous a little bit. This means anything. This means anything. And then the 000 means any IPv4. So these are any IPv4 addresses here. And these are a special character for any IPv6 address right here. So if you were to say, Scott, for port 22, are you listening to all addresses IPv4 and IPv6? And I would say, here's TCP port 22, all IPv4 addresses, yes. And here's TCP port 22, all IPv6 addresses, yes. Anybody on IPv4 or IPv6 that can reach this machine can connect to SSH. Yes, they can do it. That's how I would show you in the SS or the netstat output. In the netstat output, it would be right here, and we would just look for, it would be easier like this with SS. And then we would be able to see, yep, there's any port 22 for IPv4, any IPv4 address, and there's any IPv6 address right there. Boom. I'm not telling you my name. That's funny. I like that over on YouTube. You said, can you use Ansible for all this? Is there something in Ansible like gather facts? Yeah, Ansible can. Yeah, so if you want to see it in Ansible, it looks like this. So if I were to just say, let's go real quick, Ansible. And for all my servers here, we're just going to do a setup. Setup is the same thing as like a gather facts. So yeah, we'll do an Ansible setup, and then let's go look at all of the port information that we can get. So Ansible is, again, coming from the outside. It's hitting all the nodes. I have elevated permissions to hit my 20 nodes right here. Well, 1 through 19. And then, oh, it's still getting answers back. Hold on. And what we can do is we can let it finish. Okay, it finished, so it hit all the nodes, right? And we should be able to, in here, come in here and see if any of that stuff is gathered through our normal setup. I'm pretty sure a normal setup finds open ports, but if it doesn't, we can look at that. We could generate our own. Now, see, here's all your disks. There's some TCP features, interface features. Date and time stuff. Nope, it does not look like our default output. So this is all of our output here. Does not look like it's going to give us all the open ports. But we could use Ansible to gather that still. Let me show you. So you could gather that with Ansible still. I get well. Well, it'll get into, I guess. Yeah, we can do it like this. So let's go Ansible servers. Where am I at? Let's go into Ansible here. And let's just, let's grab this real quick. I just like to steal shit for myself like this. Grab this. You guys will find that I'm a thief of myself. Let's VI, let's say gather, I don't know, ports.yaml, right? Throw this here. And we're not going to be using the SecLab vuln servers. We're just going to be using servers. Yeah, it's servers. You guys see right here, servers are all my Rocky boxes. All right, so there's servers. Gather facts to be true. And then this will be gather. Don't worry about that. That was from a different thing. Gather all the port information into a variable, right? And then we would say instead of that, we would use shell. And then we might do like ss dash. Let's just do this for now, right? It'll look a little messy, but you'll see in a second what I'm doing here. Show the output. If you're going to show the output, you have to do this. var is ports. We'll do ports so you guys can see the full debug. All right, so this will run against all 20 of them. That's YAML, but YAML is what's interpreted by Ansible. So I was using YAML to build two basic little tasks. One is going to go and hit SSH on all the boxes, and two is going to debug and show us the output. There's a lot of output that'll be there. We could also take it to just the standard output, but I want you to see, like, you're about to see a whole bunch of noise. But the reason we take a bunch of noise like this is because then we could go in and we can parse it down, right? It's like I tell people, if I can gather all the data, I can get the little piece of the data that I need, if that makes sense, right? Here's the whole output of the system, right? And in this case, there would be all of our stuff. This is now unparsed. I haven't done anything with this yet, except go and gobble up all the raw data I could get my hands on from all my machines. Then I would go and I would parse this down to, I showed you guys everything that was registered. Not any of this matters to me. The only thing I care about is standard out now. And in standard out, I only care about port 22, or I might only care about SSH. So watch, I could modify this real quick, and I could say in here I can do a grep, right? Maybe I only want to see when SSH and hold on, I'm gonna change this. Now this is gonna be ports, and I don't want to see all that other noise. I just want to see the not the return code, standard out, right? Which was a part of that variable. That variable's coming back in JSON. You know, I've showed you guys this. We've talked about this. I don't do a lot of this live. I show you guys a lot of labs of this stuff, but you guys haven't like seen me do a lot of like parsing and pulling this stuff apart live. But this would be how I would find, like, if all my boxes had SSH on. Right? And then now I'm just gonna, when this comes back, we're just running a little SSH command on there. Then we're gonna get the return code. By the way, you'll learn when you start writing Ansible, you'll learn very quickly. Never, ever, ever, right? People will tell you this. Never, ever, ever use shell because it's not idempotent. And I would say, yes, that's true. Schlagerhouse. No, this is definitely JSON output. But this is YAML up here, yes. This is YAML that I'm putting in, but I'm getting JSON output out. This is technically JSON that I'm reading out of the output. So I'm not sure what you're... I'm definitely putting in YAML right here, and I'm definitely getting JSON out. If you want to see it in the full, this is the full JSON output here, and then I just stripped down to only ports.standard out because I just wanted to see that one little thing. So okay. So can we list our open ports? Sure. We did. Look, we're doing really, at the end of the day, we're just doing simple Linux, but we jumped over to Ansible because I think somebody asked a question about it. But we could get this same output, and then we could go do stuff. We could use true and false statements. We can filter with Python and check to make sure that SSH is in the output. And we could do that. We could be even sneakier here. We can go. Watch. I'll show you one other sneaky thing. One of the things about this playbook. Oh, I don't want to run that. Hold on. VI gather ports. I'll show you guys something. Instead of this, we could just show the return code, and the return code of a good check will always be this. I just save all of that file and filter. You could do mouse read. You could do it a whole bunch of different ways. I'm not necessarily showing you guys the way that I would do it. I'm just showing that we could get the data, if that makes sense. That's what I'm trying to show you guys. Like I'm not trying to be prescriptive here and saying do this my way. I'm just showing you how we could see things. And in this case, see how we get return code 0? That means that it was found on. SSH was found on, or SSHD, which is to say then that is an analog to true. I know it's normally false, but in this case, that's an analog to true as it was on. And we could use that then later to trigger blocks for... Now we can do other things with SSH, or we can use it, maybe we found some that were not on, and we could use it to trigger other things. So this isn't necessarily like an Ansible talk right now, but I will tell you guys, if you want a lot of info on Ansible, we do have it up in the Discord. And then we also do have like, we do have labs that are free out there on Killer Coda. One of the cool things about Killer Coda, it never costs anything, and I love that about it, because I can build them for free. And you guys are welcome to use them for free. So I'll drop that over in the YouTube chat too. My labs focus on Linux and Ansible, and Fisherman's labs focus on like Linux troubleshooting and being like a Linux admin, and also LLMs. He is kind of our local LLM and AI type guy. He's also got some certs out in the cloud for LLM, which are like the AWS AI and LLM type certs. Those are the kind of things that he does. So if you ever catch him in our Discord, or if you ever catch him streaming, you guys can ask him, you know, hopefully useful stuff, useful, relevant stuff. All right. So now this is the next one. Can you prove on your server, you're just on some server, can you prove that DNS is working? Can you prove that your DNS is working? So I'm on Rocky 5. Can I prove that DNS is working? How might I do that? Yeah, I like NS lookup. And maybe if I do my NS lookup, I'll look for yahoo.com. There we go. What about dig? And what about host? All of those tried to respond to me as best they could using whatever my system would allow them to. Host would have tried to look at the local host files as well. Dig and NS lookup would have explicitly tried to use DNS. So when we look at this real quick, one, we see that it worked, right? We got some IPv4 and IPv6, addresses right here, so that's good. Then dig did the same thing. It went out there and it said, hey, I was able to get an A record. A records are always going to be your IPv4 records. And then if it had gotten an IPv6 record, it would have been quad A. There would have been 4 A's right here. So they call that a quad A record nowadays. But A records are your IPv4, quad A's are your IPv6. We don't see one. But can anybody tell me just by looking at this, well, obviously our DNS worked because we resolved a external name to a IP address, but does anybody know what our server for DNS lookup that we used? And then also, is that an internal server or is that a server out in the world? Does anybody know that? Like where did we query right here to get this info? And why might that be important? I tell you guys, sometimes an internal server is busted and you can fix it, and sometimes an external server is busted or not giving good answers and you can't fix it because it's outside of your company. And your fix is going to be trusting something else. So we are definitely using the 8.8.8.8 server, but is that an internal or an external server? Does anybody know what that is? Yeah. Well, tomorrow, let me tell you this. Once it leaves your LAN, it's not you can't fix it anymore. This is definitely an external one, 8.8.8.8. Does anybody know? That's a very common one. Does anybody know who owns that? You ask everybody's friend. Is everybody's friend Google? Yeah, can we prove DNS is working? Well, 8.8.8.8 is actually Google's. No, that's Google. Down with the shortness. There is a Cloudflare one, though. The Cloudflare one, I actually have them. I haven't pulled up my home lab in a long time for you guys. Well, let me pull up... let me see if I'm not logged into my Grafana right now. Hold on, because I just got home on late Saturday night. So let's go in here. See if I can get in here. And let's go look at my... some of you guys know I have this security one. And the security one is actually showing DNS responses to three different systems. And the systems that it's coming back from, let's go look at them real quick, we come back from 1.1.1.1. We come back from 8.8.8.8, which is Google. But then we also have this 208.67.222.222, or the 1.1.1.1. And I believe I have them... I had them in the old ones, what they meant. But they are... One of these... Well, this is the Google one here, the 8.8.8. Over here, I want to say this is the Cisco one, and I want to say this is the Cloudflare one. But you guys can Google that and tell me if I'm wrong or not, right? But these are the three that I hit to make sure that I'm getting DNS requests back every few seconds. Yeah, one of these is OpenDNS, 100%. I forget which one though. But anyway, so these are the three that I hit to make sure that my system is properly going. And if I'm having DNS query errors, they'll show up here. And then here's the people that are banned coming into my system forever, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then ping responses, am I able to ping out into the world and get responses back? Or do my pings ever go high? So this is what I use to tell that my system is healthy, as far as if all of my servers immediately couldn't get out to the web for some reason, I would check this dashboard and see if this would show me if it's global or if it's just one node, if that kind of makes sense. And then Schlagerhaus and Senior Goomba or Senor Goomba. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys. Thanks for your follows. DNS is, we can call DNS working in this. And look, we're asking ourselves very simple questions over here. We're not like trying to trick ourselves. We're not trying to be the smartest guy in the room. We're just looking at, hey, does our system behave over here the way that we expect it does, right? So there we go. Yeah, tomorrow you only enter networking by doing tried CNA and I was lost. Yeah, tomorrow there's a lot to networking. I have a little primer on networking, and I'm going to redo my primer on networking as well for everybody. In fact, I think my primer is the back end to this right here. Yeah, this is all the networking stuff that I talk about when I show you guys how networking works. So if you guys ever want, just let me know in Discord. You know, we got a section in there for you guys to let me know what you want to talk about. And if you guys ever say, hey, we need to go over that again, that'll be one of my topics, like on a Sunday morning or something. You know, we'll go through all the stuff again. I have I have absolutely no problem going through this stuff. We just have to, you know, you just have to let me know, and I got to schedule it. So yeah, tomorrow, let me know. Let me know if you got any problems with that. All right, I should be back on this, and we proved to ourselves that DNS was working in our system. So that's good. What's our next one? What file do we edit to change the service to port number mapping? Ah, this one's good. What file do we edit to change the service to port number mapping? So let me show you guys something. We do an SS by itself, and it shows us a bunch of stuff. And everywhere that it can, let's just do TU. And right here, as you do SSH and you see all of your TCP and UDP traffics, you get these names here. You get names for things instead of, look at this, what's Sun RP HTTPS? I don't know what any of that crap is, right? But you get these name values that maybe are kind of weird to us, right? Like those are kind of weird. And also I should be seeing, here's my SSH mapping. But if I did my SS-NTULP like I like to do, I don't see that. I see the port numbers. These are forced to be the port numbers right here. Where's that mapping at? Yeah, it's definitely Etsy services. So if we just do like more on Etsy services, this is super useful. No, sorry, it's services. Yeah, this is where your system maps those from. So we're going to change our system. So here's SSH on port 22 TCP and 22 UDP. And we're going to go VI Etsy services real quick. Hey, Enzo Bear, how's it going? Whoops. Hopefully I could damn type. We'll come down here. We're going to change port 22 to, I don't know. We're going to change it to the silliest thing. Oh, whoops. Undo that. We're going to change it to the silliest thing we can think of. Something that would for sure not be in our system, right? This 100% should not be in there. And now when I do this, my system sees the 22, but now we'll force it to not give us port. It'll no longer be forced to give us port numbers. Oops. Sorry, it doesn't have to give it to us numerically here. And now, instead of being SSH, we see Scooby-Doo. And it's like, we don't want that. We don't. Enzo Bear, thanks for the Prime. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. I do appreciate that. Keeps me kind of motivated to do this. We're just kind of doing this. I'm kind of co-working. I'm in my other windows doing other stuff, but I'm kind of hanging out with you guys talking a little bit. And what file do we edit to change the service to port number mapping? We would change our Etsy services. So this is a super useful thing to know, that this is where you do your mappings for your system. Your mappings in the system really, see, it's back to SSH, it doesn't really matter to anything but us. It's kind of like how your system does everything in IP addresses, but you can do whatever kind of thing you want as a human mapping, as long as you have a DNS for your system to be able to resolve, right? Like I want to ping. This is all good as long as the system can find out what Google is. Otherwise, I would have had to be able to ping the 142.250.68. 228 or whatever. I would have had to know that, and I don't know that for all the systems, right? So, yeah, Enzo Bear. I don't know if you had heard, but I was in Ohio for a week. That was wild. I flew in on a blizzard. That was terrible. Flew out on inclement weather. It was seriously like probably one of the worst weeks of travel I've ever been in. It's definitely the worst travel I've ever had for a 1 week period. Probably turned me off to ever flying Delta ever again. Just the way they handled stuff was not solid. So anyways, this is where we would edit our service to port mapping number. You probably will not do this in your career, but you should know where that is in case you're ever trying to figure out what's going on in the system. It's just one more piece of information to go look up. All right. Next one. Can you connect to another server and test for an open port? So I have these local servers. This system that I'm on is part of a Werewolf cluster. So he gets Etsy hosts from the Werewolf cluster head node, which can generate the ports whenever I want. Can I see, can I verify that like one of these other servers has an open port? How would I do that? Sometimes things need to be put back into Etsy services. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, and you might want to think about this. How could I tell that Etsy services is the same between two different systems? How might I do that? Maybe I pull both of the files back into temp and then do a diff on them to make sure nobody's mucking around with one or the other. Maybe I look at my Etsy. Yeah, diff is the way I'd do it. I'd pull them like this. If you guys wanted to see, right? I would do something like this. So Rocky 5 is the node I was on. I would CD to like temp, and I would SCP from Rocky 5. Let's say I'd made a change. I made a change, but I put it back, and Etsy services to here, and I would call it temp, like Rocky 5 services, right? So I would copy that, and then maybe I would go like Rocky 6 because I wanted to compare it to like Rocky 6, and I would do that, and then I would diff Rocky 5 and Rocky 6, and I would see if there's any differences. There are no differences. They're exactly the same, so it's perfect. But if you say, Scott, could you prove to us that's different? I go, yeah, VI Etsy services, and I come back here and I move this back to like that Scooby-Doo I had. We're just messing around, right? This is all we're doing things to prove that things exist as we expect. Now I pull that down and my diff should show a difference now in those two. And diff is its own little beast. Like it shows the differences here, but I could set it so that it would only show the differences like in a line by line. There's a bunch of different commands and I don't know them all with diff to show you different stuff. And a lot of people like this Y one. This is the one that some people will use like this. Oh, but the -Y is okay, but look, that's kind of messy, right? And maybe what most of us like would be like a Y with a Q, which I think was the, yeah. It'll tell me just real quick that they're different, right? Yeah, what's this one, Bov? Hold on, let me see. LSOF-I-N-P. Yeah, that'll tell you all of the things that are open for sure. I like it. It'll show you what's connected and what ports are being listened to and established. I like it. Yeah, you could do that. You could actually do that, maybe filter and get just all the IP addresses and make sure that your internal servers are not talking out. Guys, I was working at AAA years ago, and we just found, and I'm not saying this now. This was 2017-ish. I'm not saying this now because of like anything with Ukraine or Russia. I'm just telling you, a bunch of our servers were talking to Ukraine, and we're like, what the fuck are we talking to Ukraine for? We're an American only company. AAA is an American only. And a bunch of our servers had been compromised by some group, and they were just using us for redirects across the internet, probably using us to, attack other systems and using us as a forward proxy to do whatever they wanted. Yeah. Wait, were we still on this one? Yeah, no, we were on this one. Okay. Can we connect to another server? Yeah, so this is good. Can we connect to a server and test for an open port? Yeah, so the question then would be, I'm on the server, cat Etsy hosts. I see all these hosts. And can I connect to like nc-vz? That typically will work, but let's see. Let's say Rocky 6 in this case. And then we need to give it, by the way, the port number. So in this case, 22. And it says that we connected to that port. So we connected, and that's good. Netcat, by the way, for people that aren't super familiar, Netcat is the underpinning of what people use for Nmap. So when you Nmap and scan things, Netcat's what's under the hood. But watch this. I want to show you guys something cool. I also use this one sometimes. I'll just use a Netcat, and I'll use a timeout like 3. And the reason I'll do this is because timeout 3 will eventually drop this connection, but the Netcat will show me the header. So let's say over here, and there's better way. There's other ways to do what I'm going to show you guys, but this is a way. So for server in 1, we'll go sequence 1 to 19, right? Do echo, I am checking $server, and then maybe I say, let's just say netcat timeout 1 netcat $server, and then 22 done, right? And need a space there, my bad. All right, and then netcat server for no, god damn it. Netcat Rocky, that's my bad. And then now I would check each of the servers real quick just to make sure that they were up. There's other ways to do this. I just use Ansible and connect all of them. But if I wanted to make sure that all my nodes were up, maybe I wanted to check that they were all responding the same way on OpenSSH, this is a way to do it. Now I would tell you guys, stuff like this, where I'm scanning a system from the outside, this is from Werewolf hitting all of these boxes, right? That's okay. But if you're root, if you're admin and you own the box, just do it like this, right? Just hit the box like this. Just because now this is privileged execution against my boxes, and I'm on the server, and I know the server is running, and in this case, I'm checking uptime and load average, right? Like I don't have to scan from the outside. Nmap and Netcat are awesome to just test connections, but if I have privileged access and can get to a box, I can do whatever the hell I want to it. It's my server, right? I try to make sure you guys know that. Like there's a difference between scanning from the outside, like even gray box, versus white box where I own the thing, right? So there's different layers of security testing or checking of systems and stuff, whatever. But yeah, can we connect to a box? Netcat's perfectly fine for that, guys. So whoever had originally said that, you're correct. The best kind of correct, technically correct. You just do this. Check for the header if you care about it, or if you don't care about the header, you just care about the connection, that right there. And this is very important if you're working in an enterprise. Remember I told you guys earlier, you run all the Linux servers. Like I've told you guys, I was the guy who ran all the Linux servers for AAA, all the Linux and Windows systems. Almost 5,000 servers in total were under my technical control. But I didn't control the firewalls in between, and I didn't control whether or not a port was open for 3306 to make sure that one of my devices on one side could connect to a MySQL database on the other side across, like it's transparent to me inside the network. I know it's in a different IP range, but I don't know that we had a firewall in between, and I didn't know that firewall was blocking ports. So I can check that. Am I getting all the way through? And if I'm not, and if on the other side I see that it's there and I can connect to it on its own, then I go, well, shit, there's something in between. Well, or let me put it this way. I know it's not on this side. I know it's not on that side. It must be something in between logically, right? And this is the kind of things that look, You don't blame networking first, guys. If you blame networking first all the time, they will hate you and they'll never work with you. But if you just say, hey, guys, I've checked this out, you're on a call with, some teams calling you up because their servers aren't working and it changed last night when there was a big firewall change or something, and now you're all trying to figure it out. This is where you let them know, guys, we need those ports open. And they might come back. Like this happened to me a lot. They're like, hey, we're going to need you to put in a new firewall request to open those ports. That's fine. Let's get them open now, and we'll do that as an emergency change, right? Like this is the kind of back and forth sometimes you have to do with your teams. You say, okay, this is a critical incident. This has been broken since last night. We can do the paperwork can be done later, right? We'll note it here on this call that the paperwork's going to be done. That's all the ServiceNow or whatever tooling you're using. But we will get the system back to a running state, and then we'll do what's typically called in that case an emergency change later. Emergency changes can happen immediately if we know that they're bringing back functionality, right? And then they would typically open the port. You would go like this, and then the port would be good, and then everybody would drop the call, and then you or that team would have to spend a little bit of time just, for me, it was always just copy and pasting from another one that I found. I'd go find one that we had done before, copy and paste some shit. Look, everybody hates the paperwork part, guys. There's nobody that likes paperwork. I've met like one or two people. Like those guys are like Hermes from Futurama, who loves being like a bureaucrat. He's technically correct, the best type of correct. If you guys don't know that reference, go watch the original Futurama. We love Hermes, but yeah, he's also kind of a tech guy. All right, or he's a bureaucrat. That's what he is. So can we connect to another server and test support? Yeah, you could use this. Can you connect to a server via SSH and debug with 3 levels of debug on the connection? And what does that mean? All right. So we SSH over to Rocky 5. Everything worked. We're happy. But let's say everything didn't work for some reason. We can't get the SSH connection to work. So what we can do with our SSH is we can add some verbosity to it. For the most part, I would tell you don't do this kind of stuff. Let's just do uptime here. I always use this analogy, and it probably gets boring for some of you guys, but it's always going to be true. If I tossed you the keys to my truck and said, go buy everybody ice cream, and you get in my truck and it starts, you're just going to drive to the store, right? Because my truck started. It's in good repair or whatever. It's going to be fine. But if you try to start it and it doesn't start, then you might open the hood and go look in and go, the engine's not engineering, or whatever you're going to do. Or you might jiggle some wires around and be like, maybe that'll do it. I don't know. But the point is, where I'm going with that is you don't go to this level of debug unless you have to. All right, let's do it. So we went over to that system. This is the only output right here. Hold on, where's it at? This is the only output we actually needed from that. Everything else we got from the V's that we added. The first V added debug 1, so all the debug 1 messages. The second V added all the debug 2 messages. Oops, there's some debug 2. And then debug 3 is the furthest level of debug. So we added 3 levels of debug to this system. Oh yeah, look at all these things. We're down here. Can you connect to another server with SSH? Throw 3. Yep. Now, what did we actually do when we connected? This gets a little interesting here. So we SSH right here, and as we connected over, we saw the client that we were using, and then we tried to read our client config, and then we applied any options from if there's anything in our .d config, so there's a 50 Red Hat in there, and then we tried to go find, we can keep going through this, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we were going to be able to use and do and whatever, but then we come down here, keep going, and we should see at some point we're going to go try to figure out who that Rocky box is. So we tried to connect to Rocky 5 right here. We had to resolve him, and we got an IP address for him, and now we tried to connect over to him. So this is where the actual connection attempt starts to occur, right in here. And we also checked against our .ssh for known hosts to make sure that it was valid and make sure that there wasn't something wrong with this device, like our system trusted that it was a device we want to connect to. And if that's wrong, there's some things that happen here. So watch this. We'll do something fun. We'll vi from here our etc root.sh known hosts, right? And we'll look for Rocky 5, right? And we'll just go ahead and dd that line. And then we'll hit N to see if there's any more. Nope. Escape : WQ. And we'll try to connect to Rocky. And it looks like that connection just went through. But let's go ahead and do it again real quick. Now he's at the bottom. And I'm going to try to connect to him, but without that. And we might get asked. No, we didn't get asked. We may have, I think we actually have it in our config, where we do not require strict host key checking. Now we can look for that. Nope, nothing in there. Let's go here. grep-i for strict. So right here it said strict host key checking was asked, but I'm surprised that it did that because we don't have it set, or it didn't ask, probably because we sent a command. Let's try one more thing real quick. Let's oh, whoops. Yeah, sorry, we should have done that on this node. cd to etc. I don't know what I was doing. grep-i strict. Everybody from everywhere. Yeah, so it's asking. So let's try this again. Wipe it. We'll go in and try to connect over there, but we won't do any of that stuff. And now it said, yeah, permanently added the key. Okay, so I just was missing that line in there. So it added the key without asking us. That's kind of weird. Normally it asks you, do you trust the key? But it's probably just a newer SSH function that I'm not aware of. Right? Because things are always changing. Things are always getting more and more new. So that's a new behavior for me. I'm used to being asked about that key. But anyway, so we have that. And could we show 3 levels of debug? Yes. Guys, that was the point of this. Was yes, we can show debug on the system. And then we exit. We also see the debug of our system disconnecting correctly. Right? So there's a bunch of stuff in here that's valuable to know. There's a bunch of things that'll be valuable if you know, something were to happen to the keys, or something didn't get pushed over. The server accepted our cluster RSA key, but that's only because that cluster RSA key has a public version in the known hosts. So if I were to go over to Rocky 5, watch this real quick, and I'm on my root user, there's an authorized keys in here. I said known host, but I meant authorized keys. And right here, there's a werewolf cluster key, right? You can see this werewolf cluster key on this line. Watch, I'm gonna delete that. I'm doing something very bad, because now I can't get into Rocky anymore. This Rocky 5 box is down for me, guys. But I can fix it, because even though I can't get into it, I have a out of band management here, right? And I can now reboot this machine. Some of you guys have seen this before in the home lab. But when we reboot one of our Rocky boxes, they come up as a stateless node. They have no information about themselves. So he's going to boot up, and he's going to come up as a fixed node. Everything about him is going to be back in the original configuration. So then we'll be able to jump into him again. Our keys will work, as it were, right? So I know there's a lot of stuff, but this is like, you know, this is the pace we move when we're fixing stuff. We kind of move quick. We kind of go through stuff. And Soup, thanks for the follow. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Watch, we're going to watch this box boot up, and he is going to go into an iPXE, and he's going to find himself, the DHCP responding node is going to be the .25 node there, and he's going to find that he's Rocky 5, and he's going to go pull his configuration from the right spots on that server. So this is a werewolf boot process, or iPXE with a cluster manager, whatever you want to call it. Hey, Potato Ops, you can always watch them on YouTube. We do have a YouTube, so if things move fast, you can go on YouTube. Also, another thing is we have people that do little study groups in our Discord, so people will go down there and hang out. I have always told you guys, one of the bad things about this format when I'm sitting here talking is this is not you know, this is not like one of my college classes where you could just like stop me and say something. I mean, I check chat as often as I can, but like sometimes I get that I'm doing things that are 2 or 3 layers deep, and I know that. So what I would tell you guys is just get involved. Find other people. I think our Discord's a good spot for this, but other people that are interested in kind of moving the same speed and stuff, and then go with that. But yeah, we do have stuff on YouTube. Potato Ops that hopefully you can watch there. Okay, anyway, so let's see, where were we at? What's our next one? Can you prove Rocky 5 will be up in a second? 1 second. He's still doing his SE Linux relabeling real quick. Hey Monkey Man, how's it going over on the Twitch side? And then yeah, I think the study groups have been helping people out a lot. I was telling the wife one time I had gotten done with, we were done with the first level of or we were doing this Linux systems administration course. We did all 16 weeks, right? And and we ended right at the end of the year. And I want to say it was like the second or third one where when we got done, a bunch of guys jumped up into one of our other channels like Linux chat, and then I told the wife, like, I was like, look, like all these guys are down in here studying and working on this stuff still. So it kind of felt pretty good. But yeah, the Discord, look, it's a free thing. I think it's much more give and take than this. A lot of times when you watch me here, it's like we're just kind of moving fast, right? All right, so let's jump to SSH Rocky 5, or at least I don't want to say that I'm moving fast. It's that there's certain assumptions, and sometimes we can't always I guess stick on some topics for too long because there's a lot to go through, man. Linux is a deep well. Oh, look, he's not all the way up yet. He's not all the way up yet. Hold on, we'll give him a second. Let's see if he's almost done. Oh, he's back up. Okay, he's back up. All right. So I like that. I show you guys how we do that sometimes. Where's that? Hold on. When you guys can go build these, they're super easy to build. There's websites and stuff out there. Trying to catch up on planning on starting a new course. So you can delete channel. No, Enzo Bear, I will always leave that up for you guys. That will always be there. I won't be deleting any of this stuff. No, the Prologue projects, this will always be there forever for you guys. Even if I may make a version of this into a course on like LeanPub, because then people can get their own tiny little certificates. They won't be as cool a certificate as the ones that we present to people who finish this. And there's only, I think, 4 right now that have finished. You have until the 19th, so it's 6 more days to finish all this for people that want to. No, but you can always, look, Enzo Bear, you can always just do it for you, right? I think there's a lot of value in doing it for you. And then we had talked about I might restart the course, and then basically we would just start here again, and I would just redo everything. So it would be like course version 2, and then we would just start it again. God, it probably won't be for a few months, though. So was this January, February, March? Maybe March or April we'd start it again. And then, yeah, it'll run for another 4 months or whatever. But I don't know. Hopefully there's some value there for you guys. All right. Can you prove you have nothing blocking port 80 to Google? So netcat, www.google.com, 80. Now, that might not be as good as doing -vz. That'll show that we connected on port 80. That's good. That would be one. I would say that worked. But also another super easy one is just curl it. This is one of the ones when we do microservices and stuff, when we're testing things, just make sure we got a web page back. Yeah, looks like a web page to me. Doc type HTML, HTML item scope, and then we got some information in here. Yeah, we got basically a web page. That looks good to me. Oh yeah, no, well, tomorrow, when we go out, your firewall will typically just allow it. We mostly use, like, host-based firewalls are almost always stateful, meaning things are just allowed out. We have a trusted internal to outside interface. So, yeah, look, you just curl it. That's a pretty cheap one. You could probably think of some other clever ways to do this, but for the most part, can we prove that we have nothing blocking port 80 to Google? Yeah. Just go in and Connect. All right. Here we go. Can you copy a file to a remote server? Can you pull a file from a remote server to this one? So let's go back to where we're keyed. And if I cd to temp, in here I have the Rocky 5 services and Rocky 6 services. So could I push both of these? So SCP local to remote. And I want to put them in temp, and I'll leave them by the same name. So I'll SCP from here to there, and I'll SCP from here to there, right? And then I SSH to my Rocky 5, CD into temp, and there's my two files, Rocky 5 and 6 services. If I do a date and then an ls-l, we should see that they were just pushed in the last few seconds. 1925, 1924, and 25. So these were just pushed in the last few seconds to the system. I'm a big fan of SCP. You can use rsync. A lot of people like rsync for archiving things because it has an inherent kind of built-in archival feature where it won't push files that were already done. Yeah, Dennis, I tell you guys, so over on YouTube, Dennis said, thanks for leaving these videos on. Look, man, like, you guys can do this stuff. And most of you that are getting into Linux or that are hobbyists in it, you could go and do this stuff professionally if you wanted to. So the reason I show you guys this is to show you how to get into the field and how to work on this stuff and become a pro. That's the stated goal of our group. We have about 3,400 people in the group. So the group is kind of moving along, trying to get to like 10,000. I think it'd be fun to get like 10,000 people in there just kind of hanging out. We break Discord sometimes, which is kind of fun. We don't seem like we're that big, but we still break Discord, and I think that's fun. So we pushed files. Can we pull files? So you got to remember, we need keys to do this. I'm using keys. That's why my SCP just happened so smooth there. I had keys for that. But if I jump back to this machine, I'm on the werewolf node, and in my head I'm thinking, can I pull excuse me, maybe I'm on this box and I tar these files up. I do maybe make dir of I don't know, services files or something like this, and then I move Rocky 5. I would just move Rocky everything into services, and then now those are all down in the services file, and then maybe I do like a tar dash c zvf on services .tar.gz, and then services file. So we're going to copy it from where it is down. We're going to turn it into an archival file, right? So now we have this archival file, and then maybe we've got to pull that out and give it to Red Hat or something. Sometimes you got to do these things called like SOS reports if you're working in Red Hat. So then we jump back out, and now we SCP from Rocky 5. We needed to know where we were. Temp services files.tar.gz to here. Pull it back to here. There's the file on this, right? So on Werewolf, we saved those files that we had tarred on the Rocky box. You have to get, this is one of the things, like, I'm going to speak in the abstract for a second. A lot of times I like doing engineering because it's very, like, this is discrete steps, but I'm going to speak in the abstract for a second here. You have to do this stuff like you walk down the street. You have to do this stuff like you get in a car and drive it. You have to know how to do these things because somebody's just going to say, get that data to Red Hat, get that data to Oracle, get that, we need to get the kernel dump data output to whatever. And there's these steps like this that have to happen, but nobody's going to tell you, go grab this, go grab that, do this, and then send it to them. Does that make sense? Like this right here has to be like, Scott, you want to go get some shaved ice on the corner? Okay, nobody's going to tell me to put my pants on, to put my shoes on, to walk out the front door of my house, to walk down the street to the east, to walk over a block, staying on the sidewalk so I don't get run over. Nobody's going to tell me that. I have to know that. Does that make sense? So when I tell you guys, like, you have to know your tools and you have to be able to move things just as easily as you, like, pick up your car keys to go drive. That, like, and the only way to get there, on the command line like this is to sit around and do it. At least for me. Yeah, you could do an MD5 with the tar if you wanted to, for sure. In fact, a lot of places will they'll tar it in. I know, like the SOS report, it'll give you a separate one, and then yeah, you can send that over. Yeah, yeah. So what he's saying about the MD5 is we could go right, and then we could do like an MD5 sum on services.tar.gz, right? We could throw that into like services.tar.md5 sum or something like that, right? And then now I would have this .md5 sum that goes with it, and then when somebody on the other side gets it, so now they're over here on this box and they've pulled it down, they can do an MD5 sum on services.tar.gz, and they can compare that. I can actually do it like this. Anything MD5 sum, pull it down. Oops. That should have worked. Oh, anyways, all right, we'll do it this way. Services.tar.md5 sum to here, right? I didn't have the dot on it. Anyways, it doesn't matter. And then we could cat it. And then we would see that that matches with what we have locally. So nothing changed between here and there. No, there's no difference. You guys can, I mean, look, there's like, there's SHA-1 sum. These are all acceptable. Although SHA-1 sum is deprecated, but it still works fine for hashes like this. You could have SHA-256, and then you could have like a SHA. There's a whole bunch of SHA. If you ever need to know which SHAs are on your system, you go like this. Tap, tap, tap. Those are all the SHA sums that are on your system, right? So yeah, so there's other ways to kind of verify and validate things are what you expect them to be, and nothing's changed on the system. So, all right, I'm gonna take a quick. Oh, here's how you do it. SCP is fine. Rsync's fine. I don't use rsync as much. Oh, it looks like I'm trying to connect to chat. I wonder if there's something busted here. You guys still hear me? Hope you guys can hear me. All right, let's go down here. This one will be fun. Can you capture all the packets on an interface? Oh, you guys can still hear me. Good. I'm gonna take a quick break here. Pull up my look, my hourglass is jacked. Hold on, we'll pull up the hourglass here. We'll say quick break. And do quick break in Ranger tracking. 8 minutes. Let me pull up Ranger cam. Hold on. I was checking out Ranger earlier, making sure he was doing all right. How's Ranger doing? Look at that Ranger dog laying over there. All right. And then I think one of my no, I'll cancel that. We don't need Zotero right now. We need, where's our extension for, something happened to my I think with my newer version of Chrome, it killed off my revolver tabs. So like normally I'd have revolver tabs and it would go through a bunch of them. But you guys can just keep an eye on Ranger there for a little bit. All right, I'm starting it over. 8 minutes. Take a break, guys. I'll be back. SCP is better if you need to push or pull a couple of... Rsync requires both ends to have rsync. Oh, yeah. I didn't even think of that, Bulb. Yeah. I use SCP almost exclusively, so like that makes sense. All right, I'll be back. You guys read his advice. It's good advice. You guys are doing good. All right, I'm back, but we're still on break. It looks like Ranger's down there taking a break too. Also, it looks like somebody turned the camera more so you guys can see more of my kitchen. Normally we just keep an eye on Ranger with the Ranger cam, but oh man. Gotta check a call real quick. All right. It seems like we're still on break, but it seems like in Discord a lot of people have been looking for work. So hopefully, hopefully some of this stuff helps you guys out as you're kind of looking for work. Let's see what's going on in our complaints department. People coming in. As you guys notice, the bot will welcome you. The bot also talks a lot of trash. You can ask the bot. You can ask the bot questions in our Discord, and it'll give you snarky answers as though it's an old Unix admin. The bot is maintained by Fisherman Guy Bro, so make sure to give him feedback if it talks too much trash and hurts your feelings, because it makes fun of me all the time. He doesn't really care that it makes fun of me because I'm easy target. What else we got? General's got questions and stuff going on down here. All right. Take a little bit of time. It's still your break. The break's as much for you guys as for me. But if any of you want to get into command line with me and want to do some of these commands as I do them, and you're like, oh, but I don't have a system, you can always go to Killer Coda, and they always have free. You could just go right here to a playground and drop right into a 2-node environment. There's a single node and a 2-node, and right here you're in a brand new shell for free for an hour. They give you an hour free in a shell, and you can do all the same things that I'm doing if you wanted to. So. Nice. All right. So look, guys, you always have Killer. I think Killer Code is like the best free thing on the web. They just give you environments. You can just be in an environment and just do whatever you want in there, like a normal real sysadmin for free. And I've launched. I was telling you guys the other day. I've launched literally over 5,000 of these labs, and they've never charged me anything. Like, I launch these labs all the time when I'm building the labs out for you guys, and they're free. They got a whole bunch of lab environments that you can go play in. But you could also just use them while you were hanging out here, if you were like, hey, I'm looking for work. Because I know, man, it just seems like with the new year, a lot of people are looking, and I know companies hire typically in the new year. Not a lot of people hire in the last few months of the year because of things slowing down, or sometimes companies, depending on if they do fiscal year or where their fiscal year ends, they have different budgets and stuff. So most companies kind of slow down their hiring, and then they do it in the new year. Oh, by the way, hold on, I gotta go check something on my YouTube side of things. Yeah, okay, we're doing Socratic stuff. Good. Learning Linux with the Socratic Method. Good. Okay, got it over on the Twitch side too. All right, finish up your break, and then we'll see if we can capture all the packets on an interface and save them to a file. Could we do that? I think we could do that. Just a little co-working stream today because I've been, I was in Ohio for a week, mostly in data centers, earplugs in because it was so loud in there. So trying to keep connected with people that want to learn this stuff or want to work on it and get better at it. All these all the things I have over here, all the notes, they're all up in the Discord, as are the, you know, if you want to go through this yourself and ask yourself these questions, they're all up in the Discord as well. So you guys can always go and do them at your leisure, and then if you have questions, just ask me in Discord. I'm most of you guys that have been around know I'm in Discord pretty often. I have it on my phone and I have it on my computer, so even when I'm working, I'm kind of seeing Discord throughout the day. So, all right, we'll stop that. Can we capture all the packets on an interface? We need a tool, TCP dump. We don't have TCP dump, so we do DNF what provides TCP dump. And we'll see a package probably. If so, what'll happen here is DNF is the he has come after Yum. Yum was the Yellow Dog update manager. I don't think Yellow Dog's been around as a distro for almost 20 years now. But the Yellow Dog update manager was rolled into Red Hat, and it's been what they've used. But now they're moving over into Bulb said maybe you could recommend any books for Kubernetes administration and CI/CD pipelines. Yeah, can I tell you probably? So you go to LeanPub, right? And then you just go LeanPub, and there's a really good one. If you look for, it's actually Geerling. Let's see if Geerling's books are on here. And he has Ansible for Kubernetes. So if you want to look at like doing Ansible, and it was actually funny during COVID, he made both this and this one free, but it looks like he's added some new ones. Maybe even made a little book about Crohn's. But these are his two that are like huge. These are huge sellers on the site, but they're also really good. But Ansible for Kubernetes, he did again at one point have this free. It's under work and stuff, but it's he's the guy who's probably contributed to Ansible more than anything else. But he has there's a good amount of like CI/CD pipeline type stuff in here. I think if you take his CIC, like his work with Ansible, I think it adds up to about all the work of like the next highest 10 people. It's wild the contributions he's made to Ansible. But yeah, he does a lot with K8s and stuff. So I think I have a copy of this, which means that I should get it for free, but I would buy it from him again just because his stuff's good. Also, by the way, if you ever buy anything off of LeanPub, the same place I publish through, if he ever updates the book, you get alerted and you get a new copy of the book. So this is a good one. Kubernetes administration and CI/CD pipelines. I think his Ansible stuff is, dude, I think Jeff Geerling, I got to see him talk once. Just a fun guy all around, man. Real big into Raspberry Pis. I like messing with Raspberry Pis. I've been messing with them since like 2012-ish. Back when you used to have to order them and wait for 4 months to get them. But yeah, he's real good. There's some other good stuff in here. I mean, obviously I just look around, but for me, he's one that I can highly recommend. Anything by Jeff Geerling, highly recommend. Yeah, his stuff's really good, and he's solid at what he does. So I would highly recommend him. All right, TCP dump comes from the TCP dump package, and it's a network traffic monitoring tool. So we say, good, I trust it, DNF install TCP dump. Now, we joke around in the labs. Often we'll just do a -y, but in the enterprise, we almost never will, guys. We will almost always, in the enterprise, verify that the system's going to pull down what we expect it to. And for me, as a guy who's done a lot of enterprise patching over the years and maintained that with Ansible, what I do is I have a bunch of pre-check stuff that goes and makes sure all the servers are only looking at the lifecycle management that I want them to. And lifecycle management is a concept from Satellite, but make sure that they're only pointing to where they're supposed to and the versions that they're supposed to of their repositories through whatever lifecycle we have. So all the dev nodes point somewhere, all the test and QA point somewhere else, and then prod, we only roll to prod after we have very, very much validated that our stuff is good. And I'm actually planning on building. I think I was telling you guys my next course for our Ansible series is going to be securing Linux. So hold on. We're here. We're still here. We're not going on to the next one yet. So we've got TCP dump. Now TCP dump, if you need help, should have a little help menu. But really what we need is IP-BR adder. And we know that it's ETH0 that we're going to go out. So we're going to do a TCP dump -I for interface ETH0. And if I just did this, it would show me all the hops. And all that traffic right there has to keep being generated because it's showing the SSH traffic, and the SSH traffic is also what's showing me itself. So this is like one of those self-fulfilling prophecies. This will never stop while we're watching it because it's always got to show me it again, right? So anyways, we stopped that and we got 395 packets captured. And I say that's all cool, but could we send that out to a file? Yeah, I can send it out to a file. And I'm going to say temp, and then we'll say Rocky5 dot, and then we'll go date plus %f for today's date dot pcap. So this will be a pcap file now. And this is going to capture all of the traffic to this server. Now, I'm going to come over here for a second. I'm going to SSH to Rocky5 a few times. And I'm actually kind of lazy. So I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to say while true, do SSH to that, do an uptime, sleep 1, done. So this is just going to go a few times and give me uptime to the node. It's doing a full TCP establish of an SSH session. It's going to break it down. All right, so then I stop. I come back over to my other thing, and I say, okay, that's enough. We'll stop it. And it captured 354 packets. It dropped them in a file called Rocky5 pcap, right? And then now what I can do is because I know that that's here and that's up in, that was up in temp. I was already in temp, I think. Yeah, because I was dropping in temp. All right, so now we can come back over here to Werewolf. We can SCP temp, and then what do I call it, Rocky? We just grab it to here, right? What do we got there? Hold on. What am I doing here? Oh God, you guys gotta stop me. Rocky5 to here, right? So we pull that down, and then now I know that it's here. So I come to my main jump box. We'll just move over to temp here, and we'll SCP from, I don't know, Scott at Werewolf. Temp that thing down to here, right? And I think it's this. And then, could not change, that's fine. And then ls in here, we've got this pcap here, right? Seems really weird that that's all I got in here. Did I delete that recently? All right, anyways, doesn't matter. So now my jump box, we had the Rocky5 pcap. Now we jump out to Windows, which, you know, we don't do a whole lot of Windows around here, but we also we have to know how to move data around. So go to our downloads. pscp.exe is a tool I like to use. They also built SCP into Windows now, so you can probably get away with not using this. But I'm going to go to 192.168.11.245, which is that machine, temp, and then it's Rocky5 anything to here. And, oh, need to use my user. And I should be able to pull that down, unless, hold on. It is readable. Good, okay. Pull it down. Boom. And then now if we have Wireshark, right? Wireshark's the tool that we have. I should be able to, theoretically, come right here. Oh God, what's going on here? I don't want to make any changes to the device. I don't want to install new. I literally just installed new versions when we were in Ohio. All right, I know this is a little bright, but let's file. Let's open a new one, and we'll go into downloads and. Oh, come on. Should be one of the most recent ones. Should be the most recent file, right? Yeah, I know I could use TCP and Wireshark in Linux too. Man, Wireshark is going slow. Not even wanting to open stuff. All right, let's go to. Come on, come on, come on, come on. All right. Local disk. Users. Me. Downloads. Most recent PCAP. Open it up. Boom. And what we should see here is a bunch of those SSH communications happening where the system was trying to communicate, right? A bunch of SSH connections and the start and the shutdown of those. Oh, look, looks like we caught a Loki API push. My system was pushing from here out to my Loki server for whatever kind of data. Oh, it looks like it was a malformed packet. However, that doesn't matter because it's just pushing data for out of the files, so that's fine. And it looks malformed to this, but that's fine. I don't care. Looks like it also had a no content, but we know that it's pushing data because we can read it out of the system. Watch, we can come over here. I'll show you guys real quick because you might be like, hey, can you actually read data out of there? Yeah. So we go over here and we say show me logs and apps, and then maybe we go to, in this case we just want to look at messages, and then maybe like Rocky 5, and here's all my Rocky 5 messages coming into my system, and I see that it's been, you know, communicated to, things have been connected. I can go to secure on Rocky 5 and I should be able to see the root attempts to connect and closing on my server, right? Like I can see all of these things that are there, but then I can come over here and I can connect and I can see these things over here, right? And if, let's say things were busted, things were not, you know, my SSH connections were not happening and I was trying to figure out if it was a TCP problem, I can actually come in here and follow like a TCP stream, and this will go like this, and it'll show me whether or not communications are happening the way that they're supposed to, right? And in this case, this one was being closed down, so we can actually go and we can click and we can see, oh yeah, it looks like at TCP, it looks like we were actually closing down with an ACK. We should see it close. We should see a FINAC, ACK. Yeah, we should see. So we see those connections closing here. So it's one of these things where like we can come in and we can figure out a bunch of stuff on a system by looking at what's wrong. But really, I tell you guys, as engineers, we only dig into what's wrong if things stop working correctly, right? You don't just spend all your time looking for stuff that's wrong on working systems. You should look for proper usage and all those kind of things that we talk about. But we don't have to spend you know, a lot of our time looking for stuff that's wrong if things are working. But we do want to understand our tools and how we can pull that stuff out. Hey, thanks for the follow. I'll just call you Thanks for the follow. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We are doing a bunch of Linux and just asking ourselves questions and can we do these things? And if we can't do these things, we have to go figure out how to do them, right? And I got my notes down here. By the way, all these notes that I have are up in the Discord because we've run through this a few times before. But the next one is, oh, it looks like I have things missing. So we're just going to, wait, is that one hidden? Oh, huh? We'll keep going down here and then we'll figure it out. So it says, can you show all the hops between your server and Google? Can we do that? Can we show all the hops between my server and Google? Anybody know how that might work? Also, are there limitations to it? This tool that I'm going to use has a certain way that it works, and that way can be greatly limited by the path you choose to take out to the cloud, right? Or out to the wherever you're going in the internet. So, can you show all the hops between your server and Google? Anybody know how to do all that? How might that look? What is this? I have no idea what that person is. It's like a robot. People are calling me. All right. What would you use? What is the traceroute? Yep. Traceroute, traceRT on the Windows side. So traceroute, we already know that Google will resolve it for us. We don't have traceroute. What provides traceroute? There we go. So we can get traceroute. If you guys are using the lab machine, so I'm using a lab machine you guys could use. Right, in our Discord, there's connection to, I have 19 Rocky boxes. The first 1 through 9, are first 1 through 10 are still available for people to use as labs, just like I'm using right here. The 11 and 12 are useful for, there's some troubleshooting labs, right? And they're called troubleshoot 1 through 3, and you guys can use those, whoops. You guys can use those for other stuff. But okay, so we installed it, and then let's say traceroute to Google, and we mostly got there, most likely. But sometimes you'll get timeouts. So those all responded very quickly. So I'm surprised that those all happened and came back, but that's good. But there's a device right here that we did not see, and we pinged everything else. So traceroute will go and it will map. It'll map the path, and then what it'll do is it will, after it maps the path, it will ping each one individually to get the time that it takes to get there. And then this one did not respond. So whatever device is sitting here has probably been set to not do echo replies to any echo requests. Now, you can ping through it, like ping traffic is allowed through it, but it itself does not respond to who it is. And that's kind of an important thing to understand, guys. Like, you will not, if you do not control everything between here and there, you should not expect everything to respond to you. I'm really surprised Google responded like that. The path we took was good. Let's go try like Yahoo. And Yahoo was also pretty good too. Let's try a different one. Let's try like NIST.gov. Oh yeah, I knew that was going to be a little different. So NIST.gov. So we tried to connect to National Institute of Standards and say, oh yeah, look at that. All the way into their system had a whole bunch of stuff going on, and they did not let us know all the stuff that was going on. Traceroute is a very, very benign, very like simple way to do some of your mapping as you're looking, like if you're doing, you're one of these guys who wants to do pen testing and stuff. This is a very simple way to gather path and traffic information about what's kind of going on. This device should not respond like that, I don't think. Like if it were me, if I were in charge of their networks, I would not respond with Gateway Core 6 like this to anybody on planet Earth. But now I know where it is. I bet that's a static IP to it too. Anyway, so we don't sit around and enumerate and map to government systems for fun. You don't want to do that too much, especially if you want to keep your clearances. So we will skip that stuff. But I just want to show you, can you see all the hops? Yes. And if you can't, it's because they're intentionally turned off. It'd be like if you came to my front door and were like, hey, I wanna go ahead and deliver this message to your kid. And I'm like, okay, that's weird, but I'll take it to him. And then you're like, no, I need to know how to get to their room. I'd be like, now we got a problem. Right? And that's the same kind of thing in your network. Why would you show everybody? They can talk to your web server, sure, but they don't need to see all the hops in between. They don't need to see how to get to your stuff. Hey, Ming Phoenix, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We're just asking ourselves questions on the right, and if we can do things, we're looking at them on the left in a terminal to see if we understand what we think we understand about the system, right? We are kind of just doing it. We started the other day when I was still in Ohio, and we were doing all these other topics, file systems and CPU and memory, and now we're down in our networking. We've been doing networking this whole time, and where we're at is on, can we show all the hops between some servers? Sure. What means learning with Socratic Method? So we're asking questions, and then we're taking like where we go with that. So here's a question. The Socratic Method is asking questions to get to how people look at things or view things. A lot of times people use it in teaching law, or like they'll use it in teaching like doctoral things where somebody will be like, well, I think this, and they'll be like, why do you think that? And what is your defend your thinking basically. So for us as engineers and as administrators, because a lot of you guys will start out as administrators, I'm asking you, can you do this thing? And then you're answering over here in the terminal if you can, or I'm kind of showing you how you might do some of these things. Just giving you, stuff to look at and that kind of stuff. Okay. So then this said, can you capture all your traffic on your primary interface? We did that. So maybe I asked that a few times. Maybe that's why it came up like this. All right, so we did that one. Can you save it out to a file? We did that one. Can you test the speed between your system and another system? Ming Phoenix, I think this is a good approach. I think a lot of people learn well when they look at like what they have as gaps, and sometimes and this is why we get together and we work on stuff together, is because sometimes we don't even think about the gaps that we have. Sometimes we don't even know what we don't know about stuff. So then we spend time working with other engineers that have hopefully seen some of the things that we haven't. So other than that, you're welcome to hang out. We've got a Discord. I haven't been, it actually just linked the Discord. So there's Discord if anybody wants it. I'll link it over on the Twitch side as well, on the YouTube side as well. If anybody wants that, I think that is a good link to our Discord. Although the word should have been join, that's fine. It'll just sit there very shamefully until people see it. All right. Anyways, you guys are welcome to lurk or hang out for as long as you want. Oh yeah, Ming, I'll tell you what. You have to spend as much time on the command line as you can, and just I was telling you guys earlier, like you have to spend enough time that you just feel like this is second nature to you, the stuff that we're doing, right? You don't have to be early on. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to be comfortable finding your commands, know what is something that's safe to run, what's not safe to run, how to find history, how to look things up, how to these are the things that we learn as we go, right? So I'm just showing you guys some things. All right, let's look if we do have iPerf on this system. So we've got to test the speed between two of our systems. So I'm going to jump over onto this other werewolf system, and I'm going to SSH into Rocky 6. So between my two nodes, I'm going to be, Rocky 5, Rocky 6. There's two nodes in my cluster. I can cat etc hosts and see, here's Rocky 5, here's Rocky 6. They're the two nodes, right? I'm going to clear this, host name. Boom. Rocky 5, Rocky 6. You guys see them? Now, I want to test the speed between these two. So Rocky 5 is the node I've been working on, so he's going to be the client. And Rocky 6 is going to be the server. So I'm going to say iperf3-s. And he's going to turn on a server listening on port 5201 for catching traffic from anybody that wants to try to connect to him for a speed test. So now I'm going to come back over here to Rocky 5. And I'm going to say iperf3. And I need to connect as a client to Rocky 6, right? Oops. I might have to look at my... And it says this is how we connect. And it says you could use a port, and then you can go if you want to be C and then the host. Oh, that should have worked. No, it's fine. See if maybe we were missing something. Any options? The port's default to 5201, so I shouldn't have to set that. I should just be able to connect right over to Rocky 6. Let's also give it, let's go look real quick. Hold on, I got a... All right, I've got in here, let's go look in our units, Linux Systems Administration course. Where did I have it? What week? Was it in benchmarking? All right. I guess that's where I did it. I didn't think this is where I did it, but that's where it says I did it. iperf-c3. No. That says that it's I'm doing it right. Okay. We can also try, so we could try it by IP, but I mean, we shouldn't need to do it by IP. Let's try dash, I don't know, we'll just try dash U. That's weird. Oh, hold on. Well, there you go. Make sure your firewall's off. Gosh. There we go. All right, so now it's going to try to send, and over here we're going to see the data flowing. We'll see it over here, and then at the end we'll get a nice little aggregation of what the time looked like. So we were sending at 5.23 gigabits per second. Our transfer was 6 gigabytes, and we were doing it at 5.23 gigabits per second. So that's not bad. The connection between these two systems, if we care, is the backplane of this node, and all of the networking and everything is done in memory on this box. So it's very possible that while we were doing that, we would see a spike in backplane, maybe networking, right? Probably not actual networking though, because it would just be in memory, and then memory is all allocated. So really we would just see like CPU. So let's try, leave that over there if we want. And we can do the same thing again. And we can add, we want to do it in dash U, and we want to do like a size. Let's say we wanted a certain size of, let's do dash N 1G. So now this is going to connect, and it's going to be much slower. It's now using UDP to send that traffic. And let's see if we see this. Oh shoot, where is this? All right. Let's see if we see any spike over here on the CPU as this thing's transmitting. To Brad, you can do a quick test over SSH2 without opening any other ports like dev, urandom, SH. Oh, nice. I didn't even think about that. Senor Goomba, I have a question, and I know you probably asked this like a million times. How do you like being a Linux engineer? Well, I mean, so there's things I love about being a Linux engineer in that, one, no matter how many times I show it to my boss or other engineers that are not doing Linux, they still think I'm casting spells. So that's a lot of job security. Nobody ever knows what you're doing, even though you try to show it to them. So that's one. That's a good thing. Another one is they pay you a whole lot of money for messing around with stuff that you were probably going to be messing around with for fun anyways, right? So like you're constantly getting paid for just doing stuff that you're already hopefully good at. And then another one is like I get to deal with as much or as little with other people as I want. If I don't want to, talk to other people or hang out with them, I can just sit around on a command line and, I'll probably have some requests coming in through like Slack or Teams, but for the most part, it's pretty lightweight on the dealing with other people, which I don't mind dealing with other people. I'm a college professor. I can sit in front of people and talk. However, if given my choice, I do not like to work with other people. I'd rather just sit around by myself, and Linux engineering is great for that. So you're talking about Lost in the Sauce. What are good projects to start off with? You've built an Ubuntu server, and that's about it. So, Senor Goomba, what I would do is I would find like-minded people, find people that are doing this stuff and are doing interesting stuff. I will posit this. We have a free Discord. I don't charge anything. Discord's free. And we have a 16-week Linux systems administration course that's just finishing up. I've also got it. It's on YouTube, so there's 16 weeks of it. And I would tell you, if you wanted to see what it looks like to be a Linux systems administrator, which then eventually becomes an engineer, this is where I would start. I have labs up here. I have stuff to go in and log into, and I have all this stuff available for you guys. If you want to build your own labs, you can. If you want to use Killer Coda, you can. But that's what I would do. I have projects that show you how to build out monitoring, right? Like if you want to track logging in a system, what's going on. If you want to track your dog ranger, like I have. If you want to go look at security in your environment, these kind of things are the things that I show you guys how to do too. These are valuable for a company because companies are they're always looking for people that can run this kind of stuff. So, can we test the speed between our system and another? Yes. We are watching it over here, and this is the server side of things, and then we're watching it over here on the system side of things, and maybe I change that from U to T, and TCP goes much faster, and then now I see the connection. Wow, look at that speed with TCP. Just launches all that data over, and then how quickly do we get to however many gigs. Tech said, hey, thanks for everything. You explained black box and why you're giving a black box in a workplace. Yeah, black box means that you have to try to get into something with no knowledge of it. We don't typically do that in the workplace. You may have, if you have a third party doing pen testing, you might give them some black or even shades of gray boxes to test with. So for people outside of this, if you've never run like security teams or never worked on this stuff, the spectrum between black and white box means you know everything about it. You have usernames and passwords. If you're root. White box means you know everything about a system. Black box is the other side. I just tell you it's all fair game. Do whatever you want to it. I don't tell you the range of IP addresses. Black box would be like if you were starting to reconnoiter a company and you wanted to see like what IP assets they have out there, what pages they have. Maybe you start mapping their stuff with like benign little commands that you're doing. Like black boxes, you know nothing. White boxes, you know everything. And typically, you'll see stuff like gray box, where it's like, okay, we've got a web server, we've got a MySQL server. If you connect to the MySQL server, you can check for any known vulnerabilities, but we ask you not to take it down, not to DDoS it, that kind of stuff. And that's kind of the spectrum between black and white. If you're being given like a black box environment internally, there's probably like you'd probably be on security doing something. I would never, like with my engineers, I would never be like, go figure it out. I'm not even going to tell you what the servers are, because that would be a waste of time. If your engineer gets stuck, then you're just wasting everybody's time. So I would always like give my engineers as much, as they needed. So that's my thoughts on that. Hopefully that's useful. Yeah, like sending a new guy to back up the system using DD. I like that. Horizon, you said I have a script that runs a user backup with the commands inside the script. Must be run with the user, for example, dev. How do I do it? Yeah, Horizon. So, I mean, obviously you can just SU to the user if you're already root. So Horizon was asking about a script that runs with the user backup, but the commands inside the script must be run with that user, or with the user maybe as like a command line argument or something. Yeah, I would just, make sure you know how it works and what it's going to do. And then I would probably run it against a test user first to make sure it doesn't just blow away all their stuff. And then I would run it. I'd probably also do like a basic little script review just to see what it's doing. Because, sometimes you get a script from somebody that's 500 lines, but you could do what you needed to in like 2 lines. There's just so many checks or something. So it's very possible that and then it depends your use case. Like, I mean, sometimes for me, like I don't ever back up user stuff because my user stuff is already on a network share that is then backed up as part of like just being an NFS share or a network share, So yeah, I don't know. Like I guess there's different levels of it. I try to build redundancy and backups into my actual whatever thing I'm building, so that then I don't ever have to kick something off, right? I'm actually really surprised this is still running. I thought we did 1 gig. And we're doing like gigs per second. I'm surprised this is... I thought it would have taken like 2 seconds. But alright, well, we'll let that run. This is fun. Can you show all the TCP IP errors on an interface over 1 minute? This is a fun one. Anybody know this command? Can you show all the TCP IP errors on an interface? Some of you know how to show the throughput. That's cool. This is our theoretical throughput limits here. But can you show how many errors you're getting, and why might we need it? Hold on, we got this other thing should be finishing. I don't know why this is taking so long. I thought I only did 1 gig, but we're gonna. I'm actually curious now, so I'm gonna let this finish. But I'm like Kanye. I'm gonna let you finish. Wasn't that him? Yeah, I think that's who that was. When he interrupted at the music videos or music video awards, if you guys remember. God, what was that, like over 10 years ago now? A long time ago. Would ifconfig show errors? Ifconfig will show you if there's 1 error in that your system is not configured. Taylor Swift was the victim, fair enough. For an example of dump, get to a database and backup software triggers script, but the commands never need to be from get user. ETH tool interface grep error, nice. I'll look at that here in a second. Where do I not have this? Ah, well, we'll add it right here. Can you show all the TCP IP errors on an interface over 1 minute? And then you think about, why would I want to know about the TCP IP errors? This question reminds me of the Cisco show interface. Yeah, actually that is part of it. Or I mean, it's a different part of it, but that's something like I came up through the Cisco world. Hey, how's it going, Colchis? We're just hanging out. So RX and TX errors. Okay. Oh, on ifconfig, let's see. Ah, but what's the time on this? RX packets, errors, and TX. But what's the time on this since it started? Enzo Bear, you're studying Cisco stuff right now? Nice. What are you getting on the... doing CCNA flashcards with Het being my background noise? Nice. Enzo, are you using Packet Tracer or are you using GNS3 for your hands-on? What are you working on for that? All right, let's try this. ETH tool dash capital S ETH0 grep dash I error. That's not giving us anything, unfortunately. Probably just this version of Rocky. Here, I'll show you guys my one that I would do. SAR-N TCP ETCP. ETCP. And then I might need that with capitals. SAR not on. This would do for a minute, right here. SAR's great. SAR's a great tool. But this is TCP. I wanted ETCP. Right, the errors. I wanted the errors. And really, I was just showing that to compare. But let's say for the next 60 seconds, I wanted all the errors and all of the non-errors against an interface. And I just wanted to see them. So this is the actual command I would use for 1 minute right here, because it'll be 1 minute intervals right here. I would also accept, I guess, ifconfig with the caveat that if there have been no errors since the interface came up, which is what we saw, you could also then conclude, you could be like Sherlock Holmes and deduce that if there have been no errors since the start of this system, then there have been no errors in the last minute. But that is a little bit of a logical, you have to actually say, well, proving the logic out of that is, it is what it is. All right. So this is going to go in 60 seconds. We're going to see all of the outputs that we captured. Yeah. Hey, Enzo Bear, if you have any questions, remember I passed my CCNA in 2002. And yeah, so that's all our actual traffic at the top. Here's our good traffic for TCP, and here's all our errors for TCP for the last 60 seconds. Now it's going to wait, and it's going to give us in another 60 seconds, well, probably about 50 seconds now, it's going to give us another block of if there were any errors or retransmits or, you know, broken transmissions or any of those kind of things. What could cause an error in TCP? That's a good question, Tech. There's a lot of things that can cause errors in TCP. The ones that I would tell you are, excuse me, you'll see them sometimes with storage devices. So if you're trying to connect to a storage device and maybe, you know, it's expecting a certain type of speed on the line or a network connection or something, it's possible that there's retransmissions. If you have a bad connection somewhere where certain frames aren't going through, retransmissions are not by themselves a problem. But retransmissions, because TCP on the far end couldn't, so TCP is like a train, right? I give this as an example. Let's say a train leaves the station with 100 cars. They're numbered 1 through 100. And when that train gets to the next station, guess what order those cars are in every single time? They have to be 1 to 100. If they were ever in any other order, you probably killed everybody on the train, right? Like the train came out of order. Everybody's dead. And the reason I bring that up is because TCP is a very strict protocol, and if anything ever comes out of order, there is a retransmit. And the only reason things would be retransmitted would be if you had, you know, maybe you had bad connections, something flapping, and things are taking different paths and they're coming out of order. TCP should always take the same path. If TCP ever takes a different path, you run the risk of just being stuck in retransmissions. Now, retransmissions, again, themselves are not bad. However, they are increased overhead. If it takes me 1 second to say something across a line, and now it takes 1.1 second to say something across the line, that is a 10% increase. And that might not mean much to us hanging out here right now, but if we're talking millions of transactions across like a bank line, or millions of transactions of phone calls between like here and France, now retransmits start to become something that are a real, and we think about it like link saturation, they start to be a real problem. So anyway, so this is how you would do it, just looking at it. And again, nothing here might be bad, even if we had some retransmits. Like some retransmits are acceptable. Yeah, and some things are and errors and that kind of stuff are okay, but we just don't want them to be a commonplace thing. And again, this system's been up. This one's only been up an hour, but some of my systems have been up for a while, and they don't have anything on them. So let's go to right. This one's been up for, how long is Rock 6? He's been up 16 days, and he has had no retransmit errors, no receive errors, and no transmit errors in 16 days. So in your environment, that might be very common. That might be very common to see. Now, if this was like a web server, I would expect a whole lot more of those, because he's listening to shit off the internet, so he's gonna have all kinds of mess coming in, right? But this is a box in a relatively gapped environment that's pretty safe, and he hasn't seen any errors. Probably hasn't been talked to except for me SSHing into him right now. But all right, so yeah, can you show all the TCP errors in an interface over a minute? Yeah, we can do that. Can you list the Doom port as your system defines it? This goes back to a question from earlier. How do you list the Doom port? Who knows what the Doom port is? If somebody was here from the very beginning, somebody answered this. But what's the Doom port? Does anybody know? So back in the day, so you've got your well-known ports, which are 0 to 1024. Does anybody know what the Doom port is? Who knows what Doom even is? And how would you find it? Never heard of the Doom port? You never have it? Has anybody ever heard of Wolfenstein 3D? Doom is a video game from the 90s. Most of you have probably heard of it because it's been redone. The Doom port is the port that they asked for. And in Etsy services, there's your Doom port. Yeah, it's a game where you're shooting demons. Not really. There may be some aliens in Doom, but they were always demons originally. Did you guys know that they asked for port 666 for the Doom port? It's also MDQS, whatever the heck that is. But Doom ID Software asked for port 666 for the Doom port because they were a game on, dealing with demons and stuff. So that was kind of a little joke. But that is a well-known port, and that is documented. So, but how would you change it, or how would you list it? You would grep-i Doom from Etsy services. Because as we talked about, like one of the very first things we did was we looked at Etsy services for all this networking stuff. So I think that's funny. I think that's hilarious. All right. So anyways, let's go out of here. Let's clear. And then let's go back into Rocky 5. So we're on Rocky 5. And the next one should be all disks. Oh. Can you read from port 22 and see the banner? Oh, so we got one more. Can you read from port 22 and see the banner information of the connection? This one we actually did earlier too, but netcat, I'm gonna do it like this: timeout 3 netcat. We can just go 127.0.0.1 if we wanted to, port 22. And there's the header banner. It's not really banner. It's but it's the information about the open port. So yeah, I would just use netcat 127.0.0.1 on port 22, and then that would show you that you're trying to connect to this box. This is also the reason that we talk about, like, don't just change your SSH from port 22 to like 10,022 and then pat yourself on the back because you're being secure. You're not. Somebody that scans your system is going to get this when they try to connect to the port, and they're going to know that that's your SSH port. The idea of security equals obscurity, or security through obscurity is not accepted from security engineers. We can't just be obscure and hope for security. That's not how it works. It's not what we do. Yeah. Look, 1022 is actually probably one of the more common ones too, Hand of Malice. So we use it. Now, hold on. We use it as an alternate port to get in case the regular SSH gets locked up by users. And that's perfectly an acceptable way to use a side channel SSH. It's just we don't have it listed as one of our security. Well, it is kind of a security because it's an availability thing. But we have a alternate. It's a secondary port that we jump in on 1022. Or 10022, as it were. Yeah. But just, full well knowing that, like, having a side door to your house doesn't mean somebody can't just walk around to the side of your house and kick the door in just because you put some shrubs around it, right? It's still something that needs to be protected, and we do all our normal stuff to protect it. We lock it down, and then we protect the config, and then we update our software, and all the normal things that we do as engineers, right? Okay, so the next one that we're going to do is disk topics. So we'll come down, we'll do disk topics. But where are we at? We're at 2.5 hours. I'll probably get off of here sooner than later anyways. Let's see. Let's clear this up. We don't have to clear it every time, but it's just sometimes nicer. And the first one is, how do you check how many disks you have? Can you check how many disks you have on your system? And, if you guys are watching this with me, the Socratic method is we're asking ourselves questions, and then we're improving it in the command line that we could validate or check these things ourselves. If we were called in the middle of the night and we were to get onto an admin call and they're like, hey guys, Scott, thanks for coming from the Linux team. Get on this set of servers and we can't get the web service running. The web service won't start by default. Gosh, there's a whole bunch of ways that this thing can go. There's a whole bunch of different ways that that call can go, but let's. What are we gonna do, right? Yeah. Tawny, you can always call me and ask. Just don't do it in the middle of the night. By the way, Tawny, did you hear about? I don't know if you were around our Discord this weekend. Did you hear that I was stuck in Dayton, Ohio? Well, I was in Dayton, Ohio for a week. It was blizzard conditions for like 2 of the days, and then I tried to come back on Friday, and I spent over 30 hours in the Dayton and then the Atlanta airport. I spent over. I'm home now. Yeah, I got home really late on Saturday, but I spent over 30 hours in what should have been about 4.5 hours of air travel. Well, with the time in the airport, it should have been about maybe like 6 7 hours. But the point, yeah, it was over 30 hours, man. It was brutal. All right, so let's get to this. Can we check how many disks we have? Yeah, we can. We can do LSBLK, see a bunch of disks. We can do LSBLK dash F to see maybe if they have file systems on them. So somebody's put a file system on XVDA, and I remember building that because we were messing around a while back. How about fdisk -L grep -I XVD? Because for me, I only want to see those disks, so I can do that. Dayton's very small, Tawny. So this is fun, Tawny. I was in Dayton Airport. They canceled my flight. I go and I look at my thing, and it says 6 a.m., and I'm like, God damn, all right. By the way, that 6 a.m. didn't leave until about 12:10. But okay. So I'm walking out to go try to catch a shuttle to like a hotel. And like you said, Dayton's small. Dayton's a small airport. It's kind of a quaint little airport. But they don't have a shuttle to the hotel. So I'm standing out there in the cold for like 5 minutes. And I'm like, you know what? I'm walking back in. So I walked back in and I went to the info desk and I said, hey, like, do these, what am I just going to have to take a thing? And by the way, at the time I thought I had to be back to the airport at 4:30 for my 6 o'clock flight. Didn't know I could have just stayed in the hotel until, 11 or whatever. Well, anyways, the woman, she looked at me, and it's kind of funny because, I'm much older now and I've been out of the infantry a long time. But she goes, were you military? And I go, I was military, in fact. And she goes, well, we're a veterans welcome center. So I showed her my ID and stuff. I'm not just saying I was military. I had my old ID, and she goes, yeah, well, we're actually a vet welcome center, so you can go hang out in the back all night if you want. And I go, well, do you normally let people do that? And she goes, if they need to. She's like, yeah, we let vets do whatever. So I go in the back. They've got like a whole like little snacky bar, like a snack bar and all this stuff. And I'm like, so I called my wife and I was like, they are not just let me sit in here with like a snack bar and drinks. So anyways, they let me. So the airport stays open 24/7, even though it like closes down operations. But she was like, yeah, you just hang out back here. So I just hung out back there for the whole night. I got about 2 hours of sleep. Got up early, left, and then they didn't have, again, the flight wasn't going, so that was annoying. And then finally got out to Atlanta. Atlanta was backed up again, and then I didn't get out of that flight. Although I did treat myself, guys. Don't think too low of me for this, but my flight from Atlanta to Phoenix, it was 3.5 hours, and I was like, I'm not sitting in cattle class, and I did upgrade that to first class. I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna sit all the way up front. If I drank, I would have. Man, I didn't even think about it. I could have just sat there and drank, but I don't really drink anymore. I haven't for many years. Not for any reason other than I remember I just woke up one day. Yeah, Tawny, it was like the USO. It wasn't the USO though. It was, they just called it a vet welcome center, and it was pretty nice though. Good whiskey bar, nice. I couldn't. And by the way, another thing, if I don't know if any of you guys have been to Atlanta. Atlanta is a huge airport, and when I say huge, I mean like bigger than. I mean, I come from Phoenix, and Phoenix is a pretty good size airport, but Atlanta is like a world. Man, they are, well, both of them are international airports, by the way, Atlanta and Phoenix, but Atlanta is big in a way that I don't think Phoenix is ever going to be, because Atlanta just keeps slapping terminals on the end of stuff, I guess. Eat oysters at the airport bar. That's funny. It is actually funny. We were flying one time out of where were we coming out of? We were coming out of Boston once, and we ran into Ashton. Ashton came and talked at the Linux group once here, and he's been with Red Hat for about 7 years, and he was one of our He's one of our guys. He does like pre-sales. He teaches people pre-sales engineering, which I think is a really cool topic for people that don't want to be straight engineers. He helps you like learn how to do pre-sale stuff, which is cool because you're always dealing with fun stuff, and then you always just get to leave. You don't even have to watch if it works or not. They just build stuff and go. But anyways, he does pre-sales engineering now. But he came and talked to the group, and we were coming back from Boston. I remember he had a little charcuterie board that he had ordered, and we were like, "Hey, can we have some of that charcuterie board?" And he's like, "Yeah, eat it up," because he was just ordering it on the Red Hat dime anyways. He didn't care. And then the funny thing, no, we were leaving Austin, and I remember how I know we were leaving Austin. It's actually really funny. If any of you guys, so he and I were talking, and he was sitting 2 seats up and to the left on the aisle, and I was sitting back 2 seats and to the right on the aisle, so I could see over his shoulder what he was watching, right? And he had asked me beforehand, "Hey, you got any good movie recommendations?" This was 2018, so the movie I recommended to him was about 5 years old. You guys can go look it up if you want. But he goes, "Yeah, you got any good movie recommendations?" I said, "Watch this movie. Don't look anything up about it. I'm gonna tell you guys the same thing. It's called Odd Thomas. Don't look anything up about it. Just go watch it if you've never seen it." And I watched it over his shoulder, and I've seen it 5 times at that point, so I didn't even need to hear it. I just watched it over his shoulder the whole time. And when the movie got over, he turned around and he was like crying, and he was looking at me. He's like, "That's so messed up, man." But anyways, dude, if you've never seen Odd Thomas, watch that movie. It's such a good movie. Do not look anything up about it. It'll ruin the movie for you. Don't look up anything about the characters in it or the whatever. And then when you're done, go look up why such a good movie never made a second. They never made. It was such a good movie, and they never made any sequels. And there's a reason. You can go look that up too. Yeah, but watch. Yeah, go watch it and then see what happens or whatever. But yeah, Tawny. So I don't know if I ever told you this, but Deer Valley up there, that's where my gym was, right at the landing. And sometimes planes would fly. Well, all the planes fly directly over my gym, my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym. So we'll just be sitting there with the lights off during the day, and just the planes will be just blocking our sky lamps or our skylights as they go over. So. Yeah, if you haven't seen Odd Thomas, watch it and then tell me what you think. It was such a good movie, and don't let anybody ruin it for you. So, yeah, well, Chris, so Ashton's a little more sensitive dude, but he's a really good dude, and I worked with him for years. I had him come talk to the Linux group, and people really loved his talk. I want to say we had like 40 or 50 people come for his talk because he's been an engineer the whole time I've known him. He's been an engineer probably about 15 years now. But he does pre-sales engineering now, which is like a totally different animal, guys. Totally different way to go. All right. Can we check how many disks we have? Yes. How about this? ls-l dev disk by dash. This is a tricky one. Here's all our disks that our system sees right here. A, B, C, D. Or A, B, C, E. No D. We don't have a D disk. Could have a D disk. It got probably deleted at some point because it enumerated right over the top. Now, these are the common. XVD are common, and then A is the first, B is the second, C is the third, E is the fourth, and then if we had partitions, they would be hanging off as numbers. I've worked on systems that have had over 400 disks, and they will just keep enumerating. It'll go A through Z, and then it'll start at AA through AB through AC through ADE, whatever, and then it'll go B, A, B. So there are symbolic links, but it's funny, these links here are back to the parent of the parent. So we're down in dev disk by sequence. So you go to the parent of the parent, which is dev here, and they all link back to the actual disk, which is here. The actual disk link, or the actual disk is right here. XVD A, B, C, D, E. And when you look at these links, see, that's the parent of my parent. So when you're in this, it's the parent and then his parent. So it's dev XVDA, which is that disk right there. When I'm just down in dev. Yeah. So that's all they are. They're symbolic links, but they link up to wherever. So here's my DVD-ROM. But it's a QEMU, so it's a virtual DVD-ROM. It's not real. But we could put a disk in it. We could put a disk right now in this system, right here. You guys have never seen this. So I just go to Rocky 5 right here, and he's up, and I can drop any of my NFS ISO library that I want in there. If I want to boot this box as a Kali Linux 2019 version, so this was, that's not season 3, but quarter 3 of 2019 when Kali released that thing. So 5 years ago, Kali, well, 4.5. Or the 2023 one that we have, which was the most recent one that we had built, just kind of for fun. There it is, right? No, XVD, the naming scheme, the start of it, deals with the fact that we're on Zen virtualized disks. Zen virtual disk. Most of the time you'll see SDA. So you used to see HDA back in the day. Now you see SDA, which just stands for SATA disks. Or I think it might even be more basic than that. But SDA is typically what you'll see. Yeah. Because normally for your SATA disks. But in my case, those are the ones that I see. You'll see different ones in your labs, right? You'll see different ones in your systems. But can we see how many there are? This is probably one of my favorite, block ID. Oh, whoops. Block ID dash A? No. LS block will also give you them. And then there's is there like an LS block? What's the one you guys are always giving me? There's like a tree version of this. F is okay. But what's the one that you guys have given me? Let's see, it might be down here a little bit. Sometimes you guys give me really good ones when we're sitting here hanging out. Oh man, there's like a way to see LS block where it gives you like a whole tree. They might know it. I don't ever remember these. Not L. Might be dash T. Yeah, it might be T. Yeah, it might be dash T. Yeah, that one's okay. We're still not, I mean, there's nothing on these discs really, so. Well, DF is good for seeing things that are mounted. So you might ask, how does DF-H differ from disks? Well, disks are the raw disks that are in the system. That's what we're focusing on now. DF is going to show us mounted file systems that the OS knows about. But the OS, strictly speaking, doesn't know about these. I can't access any of these disks right now. They are just there. They're just sitting there. Well, they're virtual disks, but they're inside the box. They're not actually being used by the file system in any way yet until we add them. Master My Fate said, how much do you need to know about networking to get by as a sysadmin? Every single thing you're going to do is going to touch a network. So if nothing breaks, then I guess you're fine. Then you don't need any. But if something breaks and you need to dig in, that's when you need all your networking. So Master My Fate, this is the way I would answer it. Know enough to get past the interview and get into the company. And then, that's KNOW. Know enough to get in. And then, gosh, my closed captioning makes it look like I'm a dummy. But, yeah, thanks, closed captioning. But anyways, yeah, so you need to know enough to get in. And then I would say learn how to use your tools, because you're never going to know exactly what's going to go wrong. You just need to know how your tools work. Because it was like what I was showing you earlier with TCP dump. Like, we don't ever know. Like, the working condition is like a state of 1. And everything that's busted is some other output than 1, right? Or if you want to think of it like a return code of 0 is good and everything else in the world is bad, but I can't define what everything else in the world might be, you know? Yeah, Colchis -T is the same as tree. And this is what it showed us. So, yeah, there's not really much going on with it. We would have to have file systems and have them mounted, and then we would see more, for sure. Yeah. So Master My Fate, I would just say, yeah, networking is going to be kind of your bread and butter, but only when things go wrong. If everything's good and you just set up things correctly out of your IP address management, which is your IPAM, then then we're good. And if things start breaking, or if that's not giving you good information, that's when you need to bust out your networking and know how to use a calculator. If you don't, look, most people are not going to be like me and do networking where like I can just do it by hand, right? And you say, really? Yeah, we do it on stream whenever you guys want. I'll just break out TCP and show you guys how to subnet it all. But other than that, I tell people use a calculator. But just don't like lean on the calculator so hard that you can't do it yourself if you need to. Yeah. Yeah, Enzo Bear, a lot of people don't even like networking. Let me show you guys this one last thing. I got to get off here soon. In our Prolog presentations. I have a thing on this. I need to re-record this as well. But the Prolog like networking primer. And when we look at the networking primer, get out here. You know, we have how subnetting works, and I'll break it all down for you guys sometimes. Like we'll look at it. Where's that here? I know, lots of stuff. And you know, we get here, I break all this stuff down, and then we go over here and we say like, why do we subnet? Well, it's because we want to chop up the room into smaller and smaller components so that devices only talk where they're supposed to, right? And then when I get done showing you guys this, when we actually walk through this, and then we come down here, and then I show you how we actually break that down and what that means, right? Yeah, Master, I have some stuff on networking. There's some really good stuff on YouTube out there. It might not hurt to pick up like a Udemy course on networking if you need it. If you hang out here long enough, I talk about networking all the time because I am a I teach networking at college level. So, oh, I forgot that I actually had that. That was my background. So that's kind of funny. I didn't realize that was the thing that I had in the background there. So, all right. Guys, I do have to hop off of here soon because I am co-working today. So I'm going to go back to doing some regular work stuff. But we can check out the partitions. So how many partitions do you have on your disks? Well, if they don't have anything carved out of them, there's 0 partitions. If they do have stuff carved out of them, then you have more partitions. I don't think we have any partitions on these disks yet. No, we don't. So those disks are just kind of hanging out. And, oh, somebody said find mount. Find mount will show you, that's actually pretty good for what's going on in the system. The one limitation of this would be, in my case, I'm doing everything on what's called tempfs. So a lot of this stuff is just noise if the question is disks, right? Because this stuff is all happening in tempfs, which is in memory. And this is all happening out in NFS space. So find mount is good, but as far as disks go, it won't tell me anything about the disks because we do have disks, but none of them are in use. That's kind of a little tricky thing. I wouldn't say it's tricky, but that's a thing about our lab environment that we don't have anything going on these disks until you go and carve them up. So, Dragnov said, where can we find questions and answers like this questions? This is 119 slides, and this is all up on our Discord. So if you want to go through these, you go to presentations in our Discord, and look, there's really good presentations that people have been giving. Yeah, it's up to 119 now. And here is if we go, I'm going back up 2 pages. Here's the Socratic Ansible notes, and here's the Socratic Linux notes right here. Although this is only probably at about 110 questions, and I'm up to 119, so I'll keep adding more. Yeah, and we go over these too, right? Like, look, here's all the questions with the answers. So even if you just looked at these yourself and said, can I list the number of CPUs, and then you typed in these commands, I think you would pick up a lot of information about Linux, right? And the Socratic method of learning is just asking ourselves questions and then seeing where the questions take us, right? Testing our assumptions and seeing if we know what we think we know about a system, right? So, all right, guys, I do have, let me see, I have a meeting here in a few, so I'm going to drop off of here. But my main goal in popping on here is to let you guys know that, you know, we can do systems work. I'm going to back this up to disk topics, and then when I do this again, we'll do disk stuff. And yeah, we'll get back to doing this stuff. And yeah, I appreciate you guys coming by. Let's go on the Twitch side. We'll raid. We got enough people to raid somewhere. Let's find if anybody's doing anything fun out there in the world. Who am I following that we can raid? Let's go find. Uh, let's go run into one of my buddies. We're gonna go to a gaming channel, so hopefully that doesn't bug you guys too much. But we'll go find a little raid over to. We'll go to Running Man. He's kind of fun. He's a little wild, but if you guys want to lurk and hang out with him, you can. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys coming by, and I will see some of you guys. I might be on later tonight because the wife's gonna go play some bunco, so I might keep doing this. But we'll stick with this for a while because people seem to really like the Socratic method for learning. I think there's a lot of stuff that you can kind of pick up as we go. So I will talk to you guys later. Take care. Have a good week if I don't talk to you.